Well, you got to be excited about, if you're an Oakland Raiders fan today, it's electric here in the stadium. Extremely excited to see not only this Raiders team, the new culture, Jack Del Rio. There's a lot of young talent on the football team. And then you talk about this Cincinnati Bengals football team. Not a lot has changed as far as what to expect for them. There's not a lot of new roster moves. But Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton, the rest of this crew here, they expect to be consistently good all year long. And I expect them to be in the playoff picture throughout the year. We're getting ready for kickoff here. Tywan Jones back deep to receive.
Out of the end zone, and the Raiders will take over on their 20. Well, Derek Carr in his second season as the quarterback of the Oakland Raiders. This is as confident a young man as you will find in the National Football League. A very good start last year in year number one. They're going to speed up this offense a little bit for the Raiders this year.
They definitely should. I think now you got a quarterback. He's in his second year in the NFL. He's comfortable with the environment around him, and they got talent here at the skill position. It's been a long time since they had a good running back, some receivers. I think the big thing is to go hurry up offense to help this offensive line out as well.
Carr out of the shotgun. Latavius Murray in the backfield. He'll throw on first down, and the pass is incomplete. All right, so they were trying to get Amari Cooper involved right away. Let's take a look at the Raiders offense. This offensive line, Rodney Hudson is the key. He was the big acquisition during the offseason. Latavius Murray, obviously a speedster out of the back, but Amari Cooper will have a lot of looking at him as the year goes on. The first handoff to Latavius Murray, and he gets a couple up to the 22-yard line. So a gain of 3. That'll be third down. Oh, the defense for the Cincinnati Bengals, the middle guy, Ray Maluga, is huge, but A.J. Hawk is going to be a huge boost for the Bengals. Dre Kirkpatrick, the secondary, time for him to step up and do a little bit more. It's third down and 7 from the 23. Two receivers off to the left. You see Murray in motion. And the first pass to Murray out of the backfield, and he is tripped up immediately after a short gain. Adam Jones makes the tackle, and the Raiders, who led the National Football League in 3-and-outs, have a 3-and-out to start the year.
Yeah, a little off target on the first play, the slant to Amari Cooper. They try to get a nice little easy completion there on third down. Let Latavius Murray work in space. Adam Jones, a very good corner in this league, makes a nice open field tackle.
Adam Jones back deep to receive for the Bengals. Marquette King to punt the ball away. A little bit of pressure, and it's off the side of his foot. And it bounces inside the 45. Adam Jones returns it up to the 40-yard line, and that is where the Bengals will begin. Andy Dalton in his 5th year. We talk about being a confident kid. Well, there's no doubt that he is a confident kid. 19 touchdowns last year, though. That was a career low. Yeah, career low, and I think people got to realize Andy Dalton, yeah, the numbers weren't great last year, but man, did they have a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball last year. No Tyler Eifert, no Marvin Jones. That certainly was part of the problem with Andy Dalton, and maybe not the numbers we were used to. From the 41 is where they'll begin. Good field position right out of the chute. Sanu breaks out to the far side. In fact, 3 receivers to the right, 2 to the left. Play clock is down to 9. Dalton to throw to the middle. It's complete. Tyler Eifert. Now, he's going to be a big part of their offense. We look at the Bengals offensive line, and Andrew Whitworth is the dominant guy on the left side. Meanwhile, offensively, we talked about Eifert, how important he will be for the Bengals. They want to get him past 8 plays, which is the amount of plays he had last year. On second down and 6 from the 45. Dalton's handoff goes to Jeremy Hill running right. Raiders defense, there's been a lot of talk about this defense, obviously, with Khalil Mack, but how about Dan Williams securing the middle for the Oakland Raiders, how important he is. Malcolm Smith over from the Seattle Seahawks. He had such a good preseason. And DJ Hayden, a lot of questions about Hayden, but Jack Del Rio feels good about his evolution at the corner. Third down and 1. Handoff goes to Hill, trying to get to the outside. He does, and he's got a first down inside Raiders territory down to the 40-yard line. It's a gain of 10.
Well, the big thing you're going to see here, Ray Armstrong on the outside here. He's got to do a better job of setting the edge. Tyler Eifert probably got away with a little bit of a hold there. But Jeremy Hill, one of the more talented backs in the NFL, runs with power, but you can see right there, got some quicks and got some speed as well.
Last year, from weeks 9 till the end of the season, he averaged over 5 yards per carry. It's a first down for the Bengals inside Raiders territory. Off the play fake, Dalton to throw. Has time. Rolls the pocket, dumps it off to Eifert. And Eifert is nailed at the 38, down to the 37. Mackin lofted in on the tackle.
Nice conservative play calls here so far by offensive coordinator Hugh Jackson. Get your offense in rhythm. Let your offensive line get off the ball a few times in the run game. And Andy Dalton makes a nice decision there. Nothing open down the field. Buys some time in the pocket. Finds a check down.
Week 3 of the preseason, they had a 9-minute, 3-second drive that took 16 plays. Hugh Jackson said, we know we have that in us, but we also want to be aggressive offensively. Dalton, quick pass to the outside for Marvin Jones for a first down to the 25. Malcolm Smith makes the tackle. Well, the other topic, which is not flying under the radar, is Aldon Smith, who is part of the Raiders defense going in for the first time this afternoon.
Well, I mean, I'm excited. Just as a football fan, the prospects of having Aldon Smith on one side of the line of scrimmage and opposite him, Khalil Mack, that's as good a tandem as you're going to find in the NFL. Aldon Smith's going to be a little bit of a learning period here. Of course, is he in football shape because he hasn't practiced a whole lot over the last month.
Jack Del Rio said it's pretty easy to just tell him to go after the quarterback, and Dalton dives forward on first down to the 22. So a gain of 3 on the play. Aldon Smith released on the 7th of August by the San Francisco 49ers, charged with 3 misdemeanors the other day. And he's going to check out. Second down and 7.
This is one thing the Bengals do a very good job of. They throw a lot of formations and different looks at a defense. Not very easy to deal with, especially in game 1 of the NFL season.
From the 22-yard line out of the shotgun is Dalton. Quick toss to Eifert, and he has a first down inside the 15. Well, they said they wanted to get him involved early, and they have gotten him involved early.
Yeah, they certainly have. They missed him last year as part of the offense. We've talked about that a little bit. The one thing you see Hugh Jackson there, offensive coordinator, who I have tremendous respect for, was once the Raiders head coach. But the big thing is that he said about Tyler Eifert, he said he's one of the most talented tight ends he's ever been around in his football career. That's a pretty special statement from a guy like Hugh Jackson who's been around.
Jake Fisher is the eligible offensive lineman, the extra guy, as the handoff goes to Hill, who's down to the 6-yard line. So it's a gain of 12 on the play. Nate Allen with the tackle for the Raiders.
Not the start you're looking for if you're an Oakland Raiders fan or an Oakland Raiders player right now. 3 and out on the offensive side of the football. Defense struggling a little bit right now, finding their feet a little bit. But hey, we got to remember, this is an unproven Raiders football team, and this is a Bengals team that's been to the playoffs 3 years in a row. There's really no environment that they're going to be intimidated by.
Second down from the 6-yard line of Oakland. In motion is Marvin Jones. Now the handoff is given to Hill, trying the right side, steps inside behind that big offensive line. He's very close to another first down.
Well, we've talked a little bit about Jeremy Hill. I really think he's one of the best running backs in football. The size, speed, power combination. This offensive line is one of the best in football as well. This is not going to be easy, though, punching it in down here against this Oakland Raiders defense. They got some big guys in the middle of their defense, whether it be Dan Williams, Justin Ellis. They are built for this kind of situation, so I'm interested to see Hugh Jackson and the Bengals play call right here.
Ryan Hewitt checks in as an extra tight end. On the right side of the offensive line, it's Tyler Croft, the rookie from Rutgers. He's in motion, and now the officials blow it dead. And a timeout called by Marvin Jones. Or Marvin Lewis, I should say. So 8 minutes to play in the first quarter. The first charge timeout goes to Marvin Lewis. Well, there's Jack Del Rio, so humbled by the opportunity to come back here and be a head coach. Humbled about being home, but humbled about getting a second chance in the National Football League as a head coach.
And he certainly deserved the second chance. He did some really good things with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think that's why it was a great hire by Mark Davis and the Raiders organization, because you needed a guy that's been around. Jack Del Rio, of course, takes over the Jacksonville Jaguars. He built that organization into a playoff contender. I am excited for the Raiders fans, and Jack Del Rio. I think he's a tremendous coach. And I was here in training camp. I've told you this, Tom. I was so impressed. You know, that phrase of changing the culture. I really think the Raiders organization has everything going in the right direction.
They're facing a 3rd down and 1 after the timeout by the Bengals. Andy Dalton comes back from the sidelines. High formation. Ryan Hewitt is the fullback. This is the 10th play of this drive. Hewitt in motion, the handoff to Hill. And Hill steps inside. It's going to be awfully close as to whether he got the first down or not.
You know, it's just not as easy as it looks to get a yard in the NFL. Like we talked about, there is a lot of big guys in the middle of that Raiders defense right now. You go to Dan Williams, he's 330 pounds. You got a Justin Ellis, who's 330 pounds. This is not going to be easy. I don't think you're going to see the Bengals try to smash it up the middle here. You might either see a quick pass, a bootleg, or a run to the edge of the defense.
Ken Norton trying to get his team to stop them on 4th down and 1 from the 3-yard line. Hewitt in motion again. The handoff goes to Hill, trying left. He is slowed and now breaks free inside the 5. Touchdown, Cincinnati. What a run by Jeremy Hill. He avoided Ben Heaney and then got some freedom to the outside.
That's why I said I think this kid is a very special talent at the running back position. Again, Ray Armstrong, he's got to keep contained there. Then Ben Heaney, 51, who misses the tackle, he would have been in position. But this kid, I'm telling you, 230 pounds. He's got muscles popping out everywhere. He can run you over, and he can make you miss in space. He is something legit in the NFL.
5 100-yard games last year. And here is the first point after for Mike Nugent. Not too many problems during the preseason for most place kickers from this new distance. And the kick is good. 7-0 Cincinnati on top. 11 plays, 59 yards, and the Bengals are celebrating right out of the chute. Pretty big contrast. The Raiders 3 and out. The Bengals, meanwhile, 11 plays, 59 yards, 6 minutes and 18 seconds. Jeremy Hill had a very good drive. 6 carries for 27 yards. Tywan Jones is back deep to receive for the Raiders for a second time. And 9 yards deep, he'll decide to do a little dancing and then eventually take a knee. So Derek Carr will get a second opportunity when we return to Oakland. Down by 7 with 7:15 to play here in the first quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. Benjamin Moore, paint like no other. And by the 2015 Acura TLX. It's that kind of thrill.
Could be one of the more scenic areas in all of America. The Bay Bridge on the other side as we get set for the second opportunity for the Oakland Raiders, down 7-0. 7:15 to play here in the first quarter. Derek Carr out of the shotgun from the 20-yard line off the play fake. Pass is incomplete, intended for Amari Cooper. All right, Chris, time now for our keys to the game. Tell us what we're going to look for today.
Well, certainly for the Cincinnati Bengals, change defensive looks. This is a young core as far as the Oakland Raiders offense is concerned. Make the Raiders earn it. I mean, give them nothing easy. Don't turn over the ball if you're a Bengal on the Bengals offensive side of the ball. And then for the Raiders, the big thing is don't let Geno Atkins ruin your game plan. Stay on top of A.J. Green and some of those wide receivers. Going to be crucial because you don't want A.J. going 70 yards over the top and putting this offense that's unproven to this point under the gun early on in the game.
Bengals show blitz, and again they go to Cooper. A flag comes in on the near side. Thrown in the direction of A.J. Hawk and Dre Kirkpatrick. Brad Allen is our referee today in his second year in the National Football League.
I think it's on the offense.
Pass interference. Offense, number 89. That penalty is declined. 3rd down.
Well, you got Alabama versus Alabama here. First-round picks Kirkpatrick versus Amari Cooper. Definitely a little bit of a push-off. Hey, the passing game for the Oakland Raiders, it's going to be no easy sledding today. This is a very talented secondary in Cincinnati. Leon Hall, Kirkpatrick, Adam Jones. That's as good a 3 as you're going to find in the NFL as far as nickel pass defense.
So the Bengals decline the penalty. Rivera, the tight end, in motion. Carr running away from the pressure, throws it, and it's complete to Michael Crabtree. Dre Kirkpatrick says no, he didn't catch it, but Crabtree comes up with the football.
Well, this is the great thing about having Michael Crabtree. I would say Michael Crabtree is one of the best wide receivers as far as catching the ball in traffic in the NFL. Derek Carr said to us on Friday, he goes, he's got the greatest hands I've ever seen, and he was the same way in San Francisco. It looks like to me that he did catch the ball.
How important is that as a quarterback to know that wherever you throw it, the hands are there?
It gives you a safety valve as far as, oh, everybody's covered. I got a guy like Michael Crabtree who's got a big catch radius. He's got strong hands. You can just throw the ball up to him, back shoulder type balls, and he will come down with it.
Gain of 10 from the 30 out of the shotgun is Carr. Whistle blows. Play clock was winding down.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
5-yard penalty. 7-0 Cincinnati's on top. Let's go to New York and JB for an update.
An early tale of 2 rookies.
Well, a do and a don't. Here's Marcus Mariota, first series, little slant pass. This is going to be a touchdown pass to Kendall Wright, 52 yards, take another 7-0 lead. Here's a don't. Don't throw it late onto the flat. Oh, rookies, I can't believe it. 14-0 Titans.
Tom and Chris.
All right, JB Boomer, we appreciate that incomplete pass on 1st down and 15, intended for Marcel Reese. It was in his hands.
Well, hey, they got young quarterbacks in that game. We got a young offensive group on the Oakland side of the football. We're seeing that right now. You got a new offensive coordinator in Bill Musgrave. Not everybody's been on the same page. We've seen a delay a game, trouble getting out of the huddle. We've seen drop passes, missed throws. This is just some of the learning curve that you're going to have to deal with as an Oakland Raider fan here, especially early on in the year as they get everything together in gel.
Jones takes the pitch, his first carry of the afternoon. He's slowed in the backfield and maybe gets one. A.J. Hawk slowed him up for Adam Jones to make the tackle. Marvin Lewis talked about Adam Jones and how important he has been, how he's grown up and matured, and how aggressive he was with what he wanted done the last couple of days in preparation for this ball game.
He is a pro. I know Adam Jones a little bit. I have great respect for him, not only his talent on the football field, but the way he's turned around his life. He is a true professional, and he's very talented as well.
3rd and 14, Carr to throw, dumps it off in the middle, pass is complete to Murray. He's short of the 1st down by about 3 yards. Vinny Ray and Leon Hall in on the tackles, and King will punt for the 2nd time.
Nice decision either way here by Derek Carr. There was nothing open down the field. You don't want to force it. Get the ball to Murray. Let him at least get some yards to now where you can punt the ball and hopefully pin back the Bengals into some bad field position.
Well, there's that pressure from Carlos Dunlap. 2nd punt for King. Last one netted 33 yards. Brandon Tate back deep to receive for the Bengals at the 15. Here comes the pressure, and Burkhead nearly blocked it. And Tate calls for the fair catch, comes sliding up just shy of the 30-yard line. And that's where Cincinnati will begin. Nice drive for Andy Dalton, first time out. Let's see what he does the second go-around. Starts here with Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network as Peyton and the Broncos go off with Alex Smith and the Chiefs right here on your home to Super Bowl 50. CBS Sports. Alex Smith and the Chiefs had a good first day. Their victory over the Texans. Here it's 7-0 Bengals on top. 1st down from the 31. Andy Dalton out of the shotgun. He was perfect 4 for 4 on the last drive, and he completes pass number 5. This one to A.J. Green. Well, here's the last drive, Chris. There are a lot of positives out of this one for Cincinnati.
Definitely was. Jeremy Hill made some great runs. Andy Dalton was very efficient in his decision-making and his throws, and then, of course, the big touchdown run by Jeremy Hill. But Cincinnati, nice little game plan here early. They've thrown every formation in the book already at this Raiders defense, and Andy Dalton's been very smart with the football.
2nd down and 3 from the 38. Triangle receivers to the near side. The handoff to Hill has some daylight out toward midfield. And he gets up close to the 49. Charles Woodson makes the tackle after a gain of 11.
Yeah, well, this is one thing I did not think. We got Nate Allen down here, I think.
Yeah, Allen's down on 2 knees right at midfield. The pickup from the Philadelphia Eagles. They signed him to a 4-year, $23 million contract. So they'll take a look at him. We'll take a break. Cincinnati on top 7-0 over the Raiders.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the new film Steve Jobs, from the screenwriter of The Social Network, in select theaters October 9th. And by Fruit of the Loom. They test their products so you know they work.
Cincinnati has been comfortable getting first downs. Nate Allen walked off the field with on his own power. We'll check in on him and see how he is as the first half moves on. Giovanni Bernard comes in motion for the Bengals on first down from the 49. Dalton out of the shotgun. Lofts it long to the far side, and it is incomplete, intended for A.J. Green. Boy, he had broken away from Charles Woodson, but the pass overthrown. It's the first incompletion of the day for Andy Dalton.
Well, hey, listen, there's nobody on the planet that's just going to be able to sit here and run with A.J. Green consistently all game long. DJ Hayden, who has been, people have been critical of him. He is a good little player. I expect his play to improve. But yeah, these are the type of plays that I think if you're a Bengals fan, the Bengals coaches, they want Andy Dalton to make these plays a little bit more consistently than maybe years past.
Jake Fisher has been announced as an eligible receiver. He's actually out to the right as one of the wide receivers in that triangle for Cincinnati. Off the play fake, Dalton to throw. Pass is deflected, and it's incomplete. It'll be third down intended for Sanu. I think Justin Tuck got his hand up there.
Big Justin Tuck. And listen, that's one way. If you're a defense and you're getting abused by the short passing game, you as a defensive coordinator got to remind your defensive line, hey, if you don't think you can get there, hit the quarterback, try to read his throwing, and if he's going to get rid of it quick, get those hands up and cloud those passing lanes.
Tuck's numbers from a year ago as 5 sacks led the Raiders. He has been a huge boost for Mack. Alden Smith has checked in again for Oakland. Giovanni Bernard in the backfield as Dalton will throw on third down. Has time, dumps it off. Has Eifert inside Raiders territory, but shy of the first down marker. TJ Carey in on the tackle, helped out by Malcolm Smith. Well, that's a huge stop right there for the Raiders.
Huge stop for the Raiders. Nobody was open down the field. It's a nice decision by Andy Dalton. There's no reason to force it. Your team is controlling the game right now, and it was a good job by the Raiders defense there rallying to make the tackle on Eifert.
Kevin Huber on to punt the ball away. We'll take a look at the infield dirt. The Bengals were very concerned about this. They're not used to kicking on the dirt, whether it be Huber or Nugent. TJ Carey is back deep to receive inside the 10 of Oakland. And Carey calls for the fair catch, and he has it at the 7-yard line. So a nice job by the Raiders defense. 2:35 to play first quarter. Derek Carr goes back to work. It's not too late to play NFL.com Fantasy. Join, draft, and play from anywhere with the new and improved mobile app. Sign up free at NFL.com/fantasy. On first down, Carr hands it off to Murray. Tries to hurdle over the defense. Not much there, but he's still able to gain close to 2 yards. Adam Jones, Reggie Nelson in on the tackle. Ball was loose for a moment, and Pecco comes out of the pile with it, but the play was blown dead. Well, for Jack Del Rio, the offensive numbers are quite slow right now.
Yeah, this is the one that surprises me because I did not think you were going to be able to run the ball in this Raiders defense. Justin Ellis a little banged up right now. I'd like to see if that trend continues.
Chris, I'd like you to welcome Amari Cooper to the National Football League. His first possession, and flags come in late.
George Iloka is going to get a penalty for taunting, standing over top of the receiver. You just can't do that this age in the NFL anymore. But yes, welcome to the NFL, Amari Cooper. The SEC is good, but it ain't the NFL.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting, number 43, defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, here is the hit on Amari Cooper, real speed. Yeah, George liked that hit.
He should like the hit. It was a tremendous hit. He's a talented player, but he doesn't need to get over the top of them, stomp his foot over them. That's the thing the NFL wants to clean up. And really, George Ialoka's been around long enough to know that's not going to fly with any referee crew.
Sportsmanship has been a point of contention for the National Football League coming into the season. So a gain of 6 on the play and then 15 yards with the penalty. It's first down from the 30. Carr under center, the handoff to Murray, and Murray moves the pile across the 35 to the 37. Malaluga in on the tackle. He's deceivingly strong, Latavius Murray.
He really is. If you saw Latavius Murray in person, he's about 6'3". He looks a lot like Adrian Peterson. I'm not saying he's quite there yet, but he's got the skills to be something special in this league. They just haven't been able to open up a lot of holes for him throughout the preseason, but the talent is there, and the Raiders need to stay patient with this run game to rest their defense and help out their pass game.
Gain of 7. It's 2nd and 3. He'll get it again. And he spins away from the defense and leans forward toward the first down marker. Adam Jones in on the tackle. What was it that Derek Carr said to us? He said, listen, I didn't see a lot of UCF games when I was at Fresno State. He said, when I first saw him, I'm thinking, wow, this guy's pretty good.
And in fact, I think he even said it. He reminded him of Adrian Peterson. Listen, this offensive line not proven yet as far as being a mashing group in the run game. And there's a lot of people at the line of scrimmage right now for this Cincinnati Bengals defense. So it might not be easy, but you got to do it just to keep the defense honest to open up things in the pass game.
I formation. We've got some movement. Pecco pointed it out almost immediately. Hands are being pointed on both sides. And here's Brad Allen with the decision.
False start. Offense, number 61. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Wow.
Rodney Hudson.
Right.
Oh, yeah, right there.
He did. He definitely flinched. It's not every day you see the center flinch.
Particularly a seasoned center like Hudson. So we wind down the first quarter. Instead of 3rd and 1, it's 3rd and 6. They need to get across the 40 for a first down. Carr's quick toss to the outside is complete. Great move across midfield. And that'll get him going. Flags come in. Amari Cooper with a 24-yard gain and some extracurricular activity at the ends.
Yeah, I think they might get maybe a Seth Roberts who came in, or maybe it was Donald Penn. Somebody cleaned the pile a little late as Amari Cooper was going down there.
Iloka, by the way, Chris, limps off the field. He's got his helmet off on the Cincinnati side of the field.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 61, offense.
Wow.
It will be first down and 10 for Oakland. This is the end of the first quarter of play. Timeout.
So Rodney Hudson called for his 2nd penalty on sportsmanlike conduct. You can see the moves from Amari Cooper getting a first down inside the Raiders' end, and then the penalty at the end. 7-0 Bengals on top of the Oakland Raiders. How about this move by Amari Cooper to get open and get some extra yards?
This is why he was the 4th pick of the draft. First of all, you watch him in Alabama. The first guy never tackles him in the open field, and you saw the precision route running. He is NFL ready, and this kid has a chance to be a true superstar.
Rivera in motion on first down. Carr dumps it off to Murray out of the backfield, and he makes one man miss before Adam Jones makes the tackle. I think for Amari Cooper, you know, this has all been workmanlike in his rookie season. They say he's an unbelievable worker, and that's something that Nick Saban implored in him.
There's no doubt about that. And Amari Cooper, the thing I love about him, you heard Derek Carr. Derek Carr loves his work ethic, his attention to detail. He's a real pro. Coming out of Alabama, sometimes you get some players that really are almost like 2nd, 3rd year players because they've been coached like pros in college. But the guy has got top-end talent, and I really think we're all going to see it, hopefully, today.
Latavius Murray gets across the 45 up to the 47-yard line.
I came out here during training camp the middle of August, and I saw Amari Cooper, and my jaw dropped because it wasn't just like, oh, wow, this is an impressive rookie. I thought, oh, wow, I think he might be one of the more impressive receivers I had ever seen. That's how talented he is. And the other thing I love, he just wants to play football. He's not worried about his brand or his Twitter handle. It's all about just the game.
Jack Del Rio said, am I lucky or what? I've got a quiet wide receiver. Third down from the 47. The Raiders trying to get inside Cincinnati's end for the first time, and he overthrows Crabtree. Derek Carr does. So King will be on the punt. Dre Kirkpatrick was in on the coverage.
Well, quite simply there, Derek Carr's got to hit that throw. That's wide open in the NFL. You got a big target in Michael Crabtree. You just can't let that ball fly up over the top. But this is the great thing about Derek Carr. He's a great down the field thrower. He's very good within the pocket. You give him some time, he usually will hit the open receiver. He just got to hit that one right there on third down.
Yeah, that was a 60-yard pass play. King the punt again. Tate back deep to receive. He calls for the fair catch after assessing. So the Bengals lead it 7-0. Andy Dalton will get another opportunity after a 45-yard punt by the Raiders. Well, Chris, you know a thing or two about having a brother play in the National Football League after you played in the National Football League. Derek Carr, back when David was the first choice by the Houston Texans, Paul Tagliabue announced his name, and the entire Carr family's up on the dais, and Derek tells us, Derek's the small one with the Texans hat next to David.
There he is right there.
He says that he told Paul Tagliabue, said, hey, listen, I'm going to be back in a few years. He said, that is a true story. He said, I did it in a nice way. He said, I wasn't cynical. I wasn't rude.
Oh, gosh.
How about that?
Where did you get this stuff from?
We got it through the old family films.
Wow. Well, I really love Derek Carr. You can tell he loves the game. He's got a nice, quiet confidence about him. Really a great demeanor and a guy you want to root for.
On first down, Andy Dalton hands the ball off to Giovanni Bernard, and he is stopped. Dan Williams, Justin Tuck in on the initial hit and the pushback.
That's really what I thought we would see a lot in this running game. I was surprised, even though Jeremy Hill's so talented, this offensive line very good. But this Raiders defense, they've implemented the Seattle Seahawks defensive system from Ken Norton Jr., and they got some big people in the middle that should make running the ball on them very tough.
Andy Dalton started out 5 for 5 to begin this ball game. 6 for 8 so far on second down from just inside the 9. He'll throw from the shotgun to the middle. Eifert again, and Eifert up to the 18-yard line. Close to a first down, 7-0 Cincinnati. Let's go to JB in New York.
Straight line efficiency.
That's right, a little draw play here out of the shotgun to Danny Woodhead. I don't think the Detroit Lions actually saw him. San Diego scores a touchdown. They still trail the Lions 21-10.
You don't think they saw him, Boom?
I don't think so, no.
Tom, Chris?
All right, JB, we appreciate that.
Danny is one of the smaller running backs in football. There's no question about that.
That's a lot of offense in the first half of that football game. First down from the 18. Dalton to throw again. Steps up in the pocket, dumps it off. Pass is complete to Bernard, who was slowed initially and then was able to get back on his feet. Asante was the one who initially hit him, but DJ Hayden with the tackle. Week 1 continues with Sunday Night Football on NBC and a Monday Night Football doubleheader on ESPN. Then Week 2 kicks off with Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and CBS. Kansas City's got some pretty good offensive weapons, don't they?
Well, Jeremy Maclin certainly turned that team around.
On second down, they dump the ball off to Sanu, and Sanu's into the open field and out close to midfield. Asante eventually makes the tackle. You may not find a more athletic guy than Mohamed Sanu.
Well, and then look at the formation. You got Andrew Whitworth split out at wide receiver there. Another look for this defense to have to worry about. And hey, we talked about it a little bit already. Having Andy Dalton, yes, good player, but now he's got Mohamed Sanu, Marvin Jones, along with A.J. Green. This offense, they got the talent to be special.
84 yards in the air for Cincinnati so far. That's a gain of 28. Near midfield, Sanu came in motion. He's lined up in the slot. Dalton to throw again. Lofts it to the middle. Eifert wide open inside the 30-yard line, still on his feet to the 20. It's a gain of 31 yards.
Yeah, well, the big thing here, it's really just a seam route. You're going to see right up here. Nobody runs with Eifert through the seam. Somebody's got to pick him up there, whether it be Ray Armstrong, Charles Woodson getting over to the middle of the field, but that is just way too wide open for this NFL.
And Sanu with his second reception down inside the 15-yard line. Woodson with the tackle. It's a good sign for the Bengals, though, that Sanu has caught his first 2 passes. His drops were up last year compared to previous seasons.
Yes, and Sanu there, Eifert we're seeing, Jeremy Hill, all things going really well for the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Offensive line's controlling the line of scrimmage as well.
Laycock has plenty of time left on it. Second down off the hitch. Dalton throws to the end zone. A.J. Green can't hang on.
Wow.
T.J. Carey was in on the coverage.
Well, you just talked about some of the drops. That has been an issue here in Cincinnati, even from the great A.J. Green. That was a perfect throw by Andy Dalton. A.J. Green, one of the 5 best receivers in football. He should make that in his sleep. Yeah, I'm with you. I couldn't believe it either, Andy.
A.J. Green, who just signed his long-term contract extension for 4 years. Well, there's a big difference in the way the offense is being run so far. A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, both to the outside with Sanu, and Marvin Lewis needs another timeout. That's the second timeout called by Cincinnati.
Charge timeout. Cincinnati. Their
All right,
second.
Hugh Jackson says it's okay.
30-second timeout.
Everything's fine. Let's calm down.
That's right. And you're in the first half. Timeouts are not as valuable at this point. Let's make sure you're on the right page. It's a big third down. They want to come out with a touchdown right here. They're not trying to go up 10-0. They want 14-0. And there was certainly some confusion there coming out of the huddle.
Well, this Saturday, it's the best game for the best conference when the SEC on CBS brings on Jeremy Johnson and the Tigers against Brandon Harris and the Bayou Bengals. From Death Valley, see who winds up top cat. The hoopla begins with college football today. So we talked to Hugh Jackson yesterday as we look at LSU, 32-3 at home since 2010, one of the great places in college football. Hugh Jackson was amped up for this. He said, I don't know how I'm going to feel emotionally. Former head coach of the Oakland Raiders, he said, but I'm looking forward to it. This team facing a 3rd and 4. Bernard in the backfield. Dalton steps up in the pocket, hit as he throws, has Green try to make a play and cannot.
T.J. Carey on the tackle. Great defense there by the Oakland Raiders. Again, like we talked a little bit in the opening, keep the talent of the Bengals in front of you. Don't let them get behind you. It's a zone defense. They're all looking at the quarterback, reading his eyes. Nobody's open. He gets a little short crossing route to A.J. Green, and they rally, the Raiders do, to make the tackle.
All right, so the Bengals will have to settle for a field goal attempt. It'll be a 32-yarder off the pass play to Green. Mike Nugent, Kevin Huber is the holder. Clark Harris, the long snapper. Trying to make it 10-0 Cincinnati. And the kick had plenty of leg, and it is indeed 10-zip. Bengals on top. 9:29 to play here in the first half. Well, Tyler Eifert has been rather impressive. 6 catches, 65 yards for the Bengals, and that helps lead to 3 points.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AutoTrader. Life happens one car search at a time. Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com. And by the new Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus and the new Galaxy Note 5.
Pretty comfortable day here in Oakland as the Bengals will kick off. Taiwan Jones back deep to receive. He has not been able to return one yet. He's going to give it a try here on the outside. And he gets across the 20 out toward the 25. No flag. Thought there might be a clip, but decent field position for the Raiders. Down by 10 when we return. Well, the love of the game is passed on from father to son. Rod Woodson's son, Jarris, plays offense, defense, and special teams for Valley Christian High School in Dublin, California. Right around the block from here in Oakland. By the looks of these highlights, I'd say Dad's football genes are evidence. And there is the Hall of Famer standing up. My partner for a couple of years doing radio. One of the greatest guys you'll ever meet.
He really is.
And his son is a very talented football player. On first down, the handoff goes to Taiwan Jones.
There we go.
Actually,
little
Murray,
success,
excuse me.
Right? Little success here on first down. They certainly did do that. Have not set themselves up real great as far as first downs concerned so far. That was their 7th first down play. 5 of them have gained 2 yards or less. That's 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10. That's not the position you want to be in as a young quarterback or a young offense altogether.
So does that mean Murray is important to try to get some yards going early on?
Yes, they do. And they got to find a way, too, to maybe loosen up the coverage a little bit. We saw Amari Cooper a little on the quick out before. But take some shots down the field. Scare these corners a little bit if I'm the Oakland Raiders offense.
Marcel Reese in the ballgame. He'll take the handoff. Bounces outside. What a move across the 35. He's going to get inside Cincinnati territory. There is a flag as the tackle is made by Dre Kirkpatrick. And flags come in late. That was Olawale, not Marcel Reese, excuse me. And this is something the NFL is trying to tamp out, are these altercations at the end of plays. That's why you saw the flags come in so quickly. And the hats. A hat has been thrown.
Wow, there's everything going on right now. But you're right, and hey, listen, it is week 1. Emotions run high. A lot of these guys are excited to be out here. It's an emotional football game. I'm going to be interested not only to see who the holding call was on, I believe, in the Raiders, but also some of these personal foul calls. Well,
Kirkpatrick was able to track down Olawale just before he went into the end zone, but the flag, the initial flag, sits at the 31-yard line of Oakland. Brad Allen with his crew right around the 25. I don't know if it was Austin Howard who was called for, who will be called for the penalty, or if it's Amari Cooper called for the hold.
I just hope there's no ejections here. That's what I'm a little scared of with a melee like that.
There are fouls by both teams during the play. Holding, offense number 77. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense number 77. Personal foul, defense number 24. Those fouls were all set. Replay, 2nd down.
Well, there were 4 flags and 1 hat on the field. That's why there was so much going on. And here is Austin Howard called for the holds.
Austin Howard, who's on the backside of the play here. Yeah, little hold to the left arm there, no doubt about it, on Geno Atkins. But that's Amari Cooper.
Oh,
wow. Amari Cooper and
Adam Jones.
Yeah, Adam Jones, that's toting the line there a little bit. He's lucky.
Yeah, he's fortunate he wasn't ejected from the ball game. So they'll replay the down. It's 2nd down and 5. Cooper seems okay. That negates a 62-yard run.
That was a lot of action for nothing.
A lot of action. And you're right, though. Adam Jones is fortunate. Helmet came off, slammed the head down. Latavius Murray checks back in. 2nd down at 5. Off the play fake. Carr looking to throw. Under pressure. Steps up. Has Murray. Murray goes right into the arms of A.J. Hawk. Well, Marvin Lewis has told us that Adam Jones has really grown up, but there's still some times where he has to make sure that he keeps him in line.
Adam Jones knows better. Marvin Lewis, of course, one of the stand-up individuals in the NFL. He wants to see his guys act and play correctly.
I asked Marvin yesterday, what's different now compared to when you started as a head coach. He said, well, I forget things a little easier the next day. It doesn't always stay with me. As the handoff goes to Murray, and he's wrapped up from behind and taken down. Carlos Dunlap makes the tackle. 2nd down. Marvin Lewis is the 2nd longest tenured head coach next to Bill Belichick in the National Football League. Talking to him about the postseason, he said, well, we'll worry about the postseason when we get there. We have to worry about the regular season and just playing well during this regular season. Marcel Reese checks in. The pitch goes to the near side on the pitch to Jones. Jones breaks one tackle, got a great block, and then Adam Jones takes him down. And the Raider fans want a flag on Adam Jones. We saw that play during practice the other day, that same one.
Yes, we did. Tyvon Jones, very good in space. That's why you see him returning kicks. It was a little change of direction play. You see Gabe Jackson there. He's got to try to pick up Vinny Ray a little earlier there. But here we are in a 3rd and long situation again for the Oakland Raiders and their offense.
At the 37, they need to get across the 46 of Oakland. pro-style formation in the backfield. Carr looking to throw, steps up. He is hit. Now he's going to run. He may have the first down. He does. The ball comes loose. It's knocked out of bounds. Adam Jones knocked the ball loose. That's going to be pretty close depending on where the ball goes out of bounds.
Yeah, I think the fact that he lost the ball might cause them the first down. Since the ball goes backwards, they will spot the ball where it goes out of bounds. So this is something that Derek Carr does bring to the table. He is an athlete.
Quarterback fumbled the ball backwards and out of bounds.
Well, that is the right call. They're going to spot it at the 45. Adam Jones is injured and down on the field for the Bengals. One more angle on that play. Yeah, that ball was out for a while. So it goes out of bounds. It'll be fourth down for the Raiders when we return to Oakland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by FanDuel, the leader in one-week fantasy football.
Well, back here at Oakland, this is a big story. Look at the stiff arm from Derek Carr. That's all good, but he may have injured that hand.
And they're going for it. Matt McGloin's in. Fourth and short here. Very risky call right here by Jack Del Rio. See if they can pick up this first down.
4th and 1 for the 45. The handoff goes to Murray right into the pile. Nothing doing, and the Bengals stand tall and stop him on 4th down. What a gutsy call by Jack Del Rio.
Gutsy call, no question about it. And I think I told you just before we came out, so it doesn't look like I'm second guessing, but I would not have done this. I would have made the Bengals have to go the whole field. Now you set them up with a short field.
Well, Derek Carr is heading out. He's going into the locker room with 5:21 to play here in the first half. Here's the stop. Murray goes right through the middle, and that is the tough part of the Bengals defense.
It certainly is with Domata Peko and Geno Atkins. No easy sledding there. We're going to commercial break.
Up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JV, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores and highlights, as well as a preview of the season debut of Thursday Night Football on CBS and the NFL Network. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Well, this is the big story of the day. Derek Carr, who did have a finger issue during the offseason on this stiff arm, hurt his hand, his throwing hand, and he has gone back to the locker room. And then subsequently, the Bengals were able to stop the Raiders on 4th down and 1. They have it from the 44. Derby Hill came in motion to the near side. Tyler Kroft, the tight end on the right side of the offensive line. Eifert's wide open. He can't hang on. And flags come in. Woodson made the hit. The defenseless receiver, even after the play, has been a point of emphasis for the National Football League this year. That may be it right there.
You're exactly right, Tom. And really, it's the same play we saw just a drive or two ago with Eifert running up the other seam. They need to do something, this Oakland Raiders defense, something on the sideline to adjust to that formation to cover the seams a little bit better.
There is no foul for unnecessary roughness on the play. Second down.
Well, the officials talked about it as they think back on this particular play.
I think the fact that they take away the penalty is because you can see Charles Woodson tried to stop and slow himself down there, and it was not an egregious hit.
Right.
I think that was the right call. Kudos to the refs.
Giovanni Bernard checks back in. Dalton 12 of 16 for 121 yards this afternoon. It is 2nd down and 10 from the 44. Eifert's on the left side of the offensive line. They dump it off to Bernard. Bernard trying to get through a blocker down to the 41. Mack is credited with the tackle, and we haven't talked much about Khalil Mack so far in this first half.
We have not, and that's a credit to this Bengals offensive line. We've talked about how good they are. They have made Khalil Mack a new point to this point, exactly. But hey, listen, he is a dominating player. I expect at some point here, if the Bengals keep throwing the ball, he will show up. Big thing is, Andy Dalton's been getting the ball out of his hand very quickly. Hard to get to him.
That was an objective for the Bengals against this Raiders defense.
It's a very big play right here.
Play clock is down to 5 on 3rd down. Dalton takes the snap, looks to throw, middle of the field, has A.J. Green for a first down, wide open, inside the 15, down to the 11. Larry Asante who was playing for the injured Nate Allen, was in on the coverage.
Well, again, sorry to cut you off there, Tom, but again, here we see it again. It's a seam route. The Seattle Seahawks defensive scheme, a lot of single safety defenses, leads these type of routes, kind of vulnerable up the seam there. A.J. Green, Andy Dalton, nice play.
On first down, the handoff inside goes to Bernard, and he spins down to the 5. Again, a 6 on the play.
Well, that's why, I second-guessed a little bit Jack Del Rio going for it on 4th down. I understand he wanted to get a little momentum going for his football team, but this is the other side of it. Here you are now, your defense is in a tough spot, and you're in danger of going down 17-0 early.
And this is a very good offensive unit for the Bengals. They've been around a long time together. 2nd down and 4. They can get another first down if they can get inside the 1. Long snap count. Handoff goes to Hill right up the middle. It'll be 3rd down. Justin Chuck makes the tackle for the Raiders.
And with no Justin Ellis back in the game as far as defensive tackle for the Raiders right now, they are a little bit more vulnerable. Justin Ellis, a very good player for them as far as just clogging up the middle of an offensive line, taking on double teams. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw another run right up the gut with the power of Jeremy Hill.
Ellis out with an ankle injury. It's 3rd down. Sanu in motion to the slot on the near side. Dalton looking to throw, peeking left, rolling right, throwing on the run, passes deflected and caught by Green, but shy of the first down. There is a flag down in the end zone. I think it's going to be defensive holding in the end zone against the Raiders.
I think you're exactly right. When A.J. Green was trying to get free there, he was held.
Holding. Defense number 45. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic. First down.
I believe they mean 42, Larry Asante, I'm going to guess, or it's 25, DJ Hayden. But as you see, A.J. Green trying to come back. The pull of the jersey is going to get the defensive backs every time. It's an easy call. Easy call for the referees, but right there you see it.
So it'll be 1st and goal for the Bengals. The ball is spotted at the 2-yard line. Oakland with 4 penalties so far. What are you thinking here for the Bengals?
Well, I've been wrong the few times I thought they would smash it up the middle.
They've got Hewitt in as the H-back. He's the lead man in the backfield. Jeremy Hill is the deep man. Dalton hands it off to Hill. Steps left into the end zone. Touchdown, Cincinnati. And it's 16-0 Bengals.
And of course, the one time I don't say they're going to smash it up the middle, what do? They smash it up the middle.
Well, they relied on this seasoned play of the offensive line, and honestly, Hewitt as the H-back with the extra block.
Yes, great to have guys like Hewitt who are so versatile, can play tight end, can play fullback. But this offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals, we said it in the opening, they are very good, and they have not only dominated the line of scrimmage in the run game, but have pass protected very well for Andy Dalton.
Well, 2 touchdowns today for Jeremy Hill. Here's the point after to make it 17-0. Mike Nugent has an extra point and a field goal today. Good snap, and the hold is good. And it's 17-0 Bengals on top of the Raiders with 2:21 to play in the first half. Monday, September 21st, the season's most unique new family comedy comes together. Life in Pieces, premiering right after The Big Bang Theory. Only CBS. Well, they don't have their starting quarterback. They have a guy who was fantastic in the preseason in Matt McGloin. He's going to have to somehow erase a 17-point deficit. Not in 2 minutes and 21 seconds,
right.
But this offense hasn't really gotten a whole lot going today.
The one thing I'll say about Matt McGloin, he's fearless as a quarterback. He's fearless in his decision-making. He's not afraid to let it rip. He's a better athlete than given credit for. He can run this offense. There's no question. It's a shame we don't have Derek Carr in there. You know, I was going to say, Derek Carr, those are things as a young quarterback. Again, when you go back to him hurting his hand, my old head coach, John Gruden, used to say, protect your throwing hand, protect your throwing shoulder. You wouldn't see Tom Brady throwing his right arm out there like that. Those are little things you just learn as you continue to play in the NFL. And, of course, he's emotional and he wanted to get the first down. I would have done the same thing, don't get me wrong. But it's more important for him to be out here on the field right now than maybe trying to get the extra 2 to 3 inches running the ball.
Tywan Jones back deep to receive. Will let that ball go back to the end zone. There is a flag down. I believe it's going to be offsides against the Bengals and their kicking team. Flag is sitting back close to the 35 of Cincinnati. Yeah, sometimes that's a little confusing for a special teams coach.
Offside, kicking team number 43. That penalty will be assessed from the 20-yard line. It will be 1st and 10, Oakland.
Well, George Iloka is called for the penalty. Coming up on the
Correction,
Verizon
the number is
halftime
33.
report. Join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores and highlights, as well as a preview of the season debut of Thursday Night Football on CBS and the NFL Network. That's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Well, with Chris Sims, I'm Tom McCarthy's. Week number 1 of the National Football League. There have been some upsets already. Here in Cincinnati, 17, Oakland, nothing. Matt McGloin, third-year pro out of Penn State, is the quarterback for the Raiders, subbing for the injured Derek Carr. Quick toss to the near side, incomplete to Seth Roberts. That's his first touch of the day. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, they're really just trying. Bill Musgrave, offensive coordinator, trying to get Matt McGloin a nice little easy completion just to get him involved in the game. Maybe get a few free yards, set yourself up for a 2nd down. But this Raiders offense right now, they're a little disheveled to say the least.
Well, Bill Musgrave, the offensive coordinator for the Oakland Raiders, you just saw. Matt McGloin had an outstanding preseason. 2nd down from the 25. Michael Rivera in motion. McGloin, pocket collapses, wrapped up and taken down. First sack of the day for Carlos Dunlap. Well, that should take us to the 2-minute warning. Well, great move by Dunlap to get around the outside and pull him down. He had 8 sacks last year. Number 1, 2015.
2 minutes.
2-minute warning here in Oakland. Bengals on top 17-0. This is their 7th third down, and all third downs have been between 6 and 16 yards for Oakland. This is 3rd and 16 from the 19. Matt McGloin in at the quarterback for the Raiders. Now the draw goes to Murray. He has a blocker, and he scampers across the 25 and up to the 31-yard line. And the Raiders will be forced to punt the ball away. So they got some breathing room, but they've got a difficult task ahead of them now from here until through the 2nd half.
Certainly do, and that was a nice play call by Bill Musgrave. You got a quarterback who's new to the game, so you err on the side of safety. But yes, if I'm the Oakland Raiders, they certainly need to make some adjustments on the defensive side of the ball. They've been killed up the seams like we talked about, whether it be Eifert, A.J. Green. And then on the offensive side of the ball for the Raiders, you don't need to abandon your game plan. You could stay with it, but I would like to see them maybe push the ball down the field a hair more. Some outs, some comebacks, maybe even a go route or two just to back these corners up. They are getting some one-on-one matchups on the outside. I think they just got to trust the receivers and the quarterbacks a little bit more.
Jones is going to return this one across the 30, breaks a tackle at the 37. And the long snapper, John Kondo, makes the tackle, but there are flags down. They came from the near side. Adam Jones broke a real nasty tackle and then was nailed pretty hard. Don't forget he left earlier with an injury, but obviously popped back. 48-yard punt, 20-yard return.
There is no foul for an illegal block in the back. It was a side block. 1st down.
Well, we mentioned that Marvin Lewis's team went to the postseason last year, lost 26-10 to the Indianapolis Colts. What are the 3 big questions, Chris?
Well, listen, we all know if you watch the Bengals, can they win a playoff game? That's certainly, hey, they're going to be in this conversation throughout December. Can their offensive line dominate late last season? They were so impressive. They certainly have been impressive today. And then last year, they were last in the NFL in sacks. I think that was a big reason they weren't a great pass defense. Can they get guys like Carlos Dunlap, Michael Johnson on the edge to consistently get after the quarterback week in, week out?
Well, Michael Johnson was a huge get to bring him back from Tampa. Dalton to throw on 1st down. Has Eifert again for a 1st down and more. Woodson eventually slows him, and Asante is there to clean it up. Tyler Eifert has had a fantastic 1st half, and they were glowing in our meetings when they talked about him.
And now we see why. I mean, he is talented. He's big. He can run. He's got great hands. He's good in space. Not a whole lot of weaknesses to his game.
7 catches, 85 yards. Clock winds under 40 seconds to play. The handoff goes to Bernard, and Bernard breaks a tackle, bursts through the 35, down to the 30. Just one timeout left for Cincinnati. And they will spend it right here with 26 seconds left. A 13-yard gain.
Well, and this is a nice little draw play. Great job by Giovanni Bernard there, one-on-one with Charles Woodson. This is a little bit what we saw to the Raiders last year. This defense is talented, but what's the problem right now? They're on the field way too much. They are getting worn out a little bit here because the offense is a 3-and-out series after series. So we don't get to see the true potential of this Raiders defense right now. And, of course, here, if you're a Raiders fan or the Raiders football team, you're just thinking field goal. Hold them to a field goal. You don't want to go in 24-0 as compared to 20-0.
A.J. Green just limped off the field for Cincinnati. So they'll check on him. Oh, there he is. Now he's back in. He limped around and then came back into the huddle. First down from the 30. Marvin Jones splits to the outside. Eifert is on the left side of the offensive line.
I would watch her, A.J., down here at the bottom of the screen. It's one-on-one coverage.
Off the play fake, Dalton looking to throw. Has time, dumps it off to Bernard on the outside, who has a first down. He gets out of bounds with 23 seconds to play here in the first half. 14-yard gain.
Yeah, and Andy Dalton just on target. Just good job staying patient there in the pocket. And Giovanni Bernard just basically uncovered there in the flat. Raiders are not all on the same page as far as the defense is concerned right now. Few too many wide open receivers, and I would be concerned about that if I'm Jack Del Rio or Ken Norton Jr.
And Norton Jr.'s first year as a defensive coordinator. Bernard has a blocker or two inside the 15, out of bounds to the 13. Woodson credited with the tackle. 18 seconds left, no timeouts for the Bengals. They are in Mike Nugent's field goal range. But I think they're going for the jugular here.
I think so, without taking too much risk. But yeah, I do agree. They're going to try to score a touchdown here. But again, if you're the Bengals and that side of the ball right now, you just say, be smart. This Raiders offense has shown no signs of consistently moving the ball right now. If you can go in 20-0, you're feeling real good if you're a Bengals fan or a Bengals football player.
Brian Hewitt checks in as an extra tight end on the right side of the offensive line on second down. Dalton looks left, throws middle, passes incomplete, intended for Marvin Jones. He had it, and it was knocked loose by T.J. Carey. It's a solid defensive play by Carey.
Certainly is. T.J. Carey, he fits the mold of what they want as far as cornerbacks in this Seattle Seahawks system, if you may. He's got size, length. He can disrupt the receivers at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, Dalton just a hair behind with the throw, and T.J. Carey does a great job with that right hand raking the ball out.
Dalton 17 of 22, 189 yards. Still looking for his first TD of the day. Jeremy Hill has the 2 touchdowns for Cincinnati. With a play clock at 5, Dalton slings it toward the end zone. Touchdown, Eifert! Tyler Eifert goes high in the air and makes it 23-0 in favor of the Bengals. A 13-yard pass play.
Well, it's just a great play design altogether. A little corner post there, singled up on Nico Thorpe, and truly just a phenomenal throw by Andy Dalton. You got a big tight end, throw it high up in the air to where nobody can get it. But Dalton has certainly been on his game. Let's not forget, A.J. Green dropped a perfect touchdown pass earlier in the second quarter.
He has 202 yards passing so far in this first half. Eifert, 8 plays last year before he went down for the season, and we can see why they were so pleased to get him back healthy. Boy, Stanford has produced some great tight ends, haven't they?
Oh, wow. It is unreal, and Hugh Jackson certainly wasn't lying to us when he said Eifert's one of the more talented guys he had ever been around.
I should say Notre Dame. Notre Dame has produced some great receivers over the years.
They're similar in mold, Notre Dame, Stanford.
So Andy Dalton with 202 yards passing today. Mike Nugent on for the point after. Kevin Huber is the holder. And the Cincinnati Bengals are dominating the Oakland Raiders here in the first half. It's 24-0 with 7 seconds to play.
Well, we'll take another look at this touchdown play here. But you see Eifert right here. He does a great job bending into the corner, then going to the post. Andy Dalton patient. He sees Charles Woodson in the middle of the field there. Charles Woodson loses his footing. And then, like I said before, a great high throw to a big target. What's the worst thing that happens if you throw a ball high right there? It deflects and goes out of bounds into the back of the end zone. That's why a lot of my coaches in past days, it's high in the back, low in the front. That takes away some of the bad things that can happen passing the ball in the red zone.
It was kind of interesting. TJ Husmanzada, who's on the coaching staff of the Bengals now, the former receiver, great receiver, said every time I see him, meaning Eifert, run a route, I can't believe a guy that size runs and catches the ball like he does.
Yes, it's a great weapon. And the fact that you're seeing all the multiple personnel sets the Bengals have right now. They can put in 2 tight ends, two receivers, 1 back. They can get in empty formations when they do that. Makes it very hard for the defense to match up. They don't know, are they going to try to run the ball with the power run game? Are they going to spread us out and dink and dunk us with Andy Dalton in the pass game?
Well, with 7 seconds to play here in the first half, the Bengals are just trying to run the timeout. The up man, Lee Smith, was able to return it with 4 seconds left. Matt McGloin subbing for the injured Derek Carr. I think if you're Jack Del Rio and if you're Bill Musgrave, you're just going to try to regroup for the second half at this point.
Yes, take a knee, get into the locker room, readjust the game plan. 24-0 is not the end of the world this day and age in the NFL. The way these guys can throw and catch it, the Raiders are not out of this football game yet.
I formation for the Raiders. Murray is the deep man. And they'll hand it off to Murray, who goes right up the middle and gets out toward the 45 to the 41. And that will be the final play of the first half. Cincinnati will get the ball back in the second half. That's the end of the first half. Bengals 24, Raiders nothing. We'll be back with a Verizon halftime report after these messages and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. Every coach will try to lay out a script for the opener of the 2015 season. For the Cincinnati Bengals, the script has been absolutely perfect. On top, 24-zip. I don't know, Chris, is this more about the experience of the Cincinnati Bengals than anything else?
Well, I think so. You certainly got to be impressed with the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about it. They've been here before. They're a good football team. They're not going anywhere. I think also we got to look at the Raiders and say, hey, they are young. They got some inexperienced players and some new coaches as well. It's a learning process.
And Derek Carr went down with an injury with 5:21 to play in the first half. All right, let's take a look at our DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam. Now, Jeremy Hill has 2 touchdowns. Here's his first one. Getting away from Ray Armstrong was huge because he got into the open field and was able to get into the end zone.
Certainly, Jeremy Hill's looked very impressive. The offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals has been very impressive. I did not think they would just have their way with this Raiders defensive line, but the run game, Andy Dalton, all have been on point to this point in the game.
All right, Andy Dalton, 202 yards, total yards, 265. Dalton has been as efficient as we've seen, 18 of 23. I think this is exactly the way he wanted to start the season.
You're exactly right about that. Every quarterback would like to start their season just like this. But Andy Dalton and some of the weapons they have on that side of the ball, he's been sharp. Offensive line, like we said, has been good. Running game's great. And then the Bengals defense has been dominant as well.
All right, the Bengals will begin the second half with the football as it goes through the goalpost. Sebastian Janikowski's kickoff through the end zone. So Cincinnati will take over from the 20. All right, the mid-game report card. What do you like? What don't you like? What do you think has happened to perfection?
Well, we got a lot of check marks on the Bengals side of the ball. There's not really much to dislike. They've been playing phenomenal football. As far as the Raiders are concerned, you look at it there, they have not let Geno Atkins disrupt their day, but they have let some wide receivers run wide open, and I honestly did not think the Raiders were patient enough with running the football, especially early on in the game.
Well, speaking of running the football, Jeremy Hill runs on first down. Dan Williams wraps him up after a gain of 1. Second down and 9. Jeremy Hill out of LSU really came on strong last year. Giovanni Bernard and Hill have been huge assets for the Bengals offense.
Agreed. And I would say Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill, I would say that's maybe the best tandem in football as far as running backs are concerned. You got a little of everything. You got smash and dash, which I used to play with Lendell White and Chris Johnson in Tennessee. That's what they called themselves.
Dalton, quick toss to the outside for Marvin Jones, trying to get into the mix with Eifert laying down the block. And he gained nearly 8 on that play, depending on the spot. Well, if you're Hugh Jackson to your left and Marvin Lewis to your right, great friends, you have to feel good about, A, your game plan and the way you've been able to execute that game plan.
They've executed it great. Hugh Jackson, what a tremendous game plan coming back here to the Raiders. Just the multitude of formations, running the football, some of the great design in the pass game. Kudos to Hugh Jackson. You know he wanted to put his best foot forward coming here back to the Raiders. He's done that so far. And listen, Hugh Jackson, I think it's he's one of those guys. You talk about lack of African-American head coaches in football. He is a guy you got to put at the top of the list.
Ryan Hewitt was late to come in, and that forces the Bengals to call a timeout. So our first timeout of the second half. Bengals with their first possession of the third quarter. Well, the 2 early timeouts the Bengals called in the first half didn't seem to bother them. Well, they used one very early here on 3rd down and 2 from the 28. That's Sanu in motion behind the line of scrimmage. Dalton out of the shotgun, hands the ball off to Hill. Not much there to his left. Snuffed out by the Raiders. An excellent start defensively for Jack Del Rio's team.
Exactly what the doctor ordered right there, and that's what I expected to see out of this Raiders football team. A little more aggressive in the front 7, clogging the middle of the field. We do got a Raiders player down right here.
Looks like it's DJ Hayden who is down injured for the Oakland Raiders.
And that's a shame to see. He's a guy that's been plagued by injuries ever since he was drafted high in the first round a few years back out of Houston. He has got talent, this kid. He really does. He takes a lot of criticism here in the Bay Area.
Please set the play clock to 29 seconds. Please set the play clock.
Jack Del Rio has already lost Nate Allen to a knee injury from the defensive standpoint. So their secondary has been depleted already.
Yes.
They did pick up Keenan Lambert from the Seattle Seahawks. He's another safety for depth at the end of preseason. So Kevin Huber on the punt the ball away. TJ Carey back deep to receive. And Huber, the left-footed punter, gets this one off with ease. And that ball takes a Raiders bounce off the fingertips of Chris Lewis Harris. Well, Jack Del Rio, as we said, very humbled about the opportunity to come back to the National Football League as a head coach. His timeline is this. He played baseball and football at USC after being drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays out of high school. And then, of course, 11 seasons in the National Football League as a linebacker, prominently with the Minnesota Vikings, became the head coach of the Jaguars for a long time, 2003 to 2011, and then was eventually named head coach to his hometown team this past January. How come you didn't play baseball and football in college?
I wasn't as talented as Jack Del Rio. I had enough problems just playing quarterback in Texas.
McGloin's pass to Seth Roberts is ruled complete. So Matt McGloin is in for Derek Carr. We're told that Derek Carr's return because of a hand injury is questionable. We don't see him on the sidelines at all.
No, we don't, and I would imagine questionable for a quarterback with a throwing hand injury. I don't expect to see him back. I think we're going to see Matt McGloin for the rest of the day here, but he can still run this offense, and like I said earlier, McGloin will let it rip. He is not afraid to push the ball down the field a little bit.
Well, he lets it rip to Amari Cooper, who grabs it at the 46-yard line of first down in front of Adam Jones.
But this is what I would like to see a little bit more out of the Raiders offense. You see the cushion they're giving there. It's one-on-one. Let's just start giving these guys the ball, especially Amari Cooper. He can make something happen after the catch. We saw a little of that in the first half.
McGloin off the play fake, throws it to the right, a wobbler beyond the reach of Michael Crabtree. So it was bad from the get-go with the snap and everything.
Right. This is really a good play right here by Matt McGloin. It was a bad snap. You could see it's off. Wow.
Yeah, Murray
good
almost
catch.
caught it.
Yeah, good catch, and he knew he was in trouble. That's part of playing the position. They could have even called a false start in Hudson there. But hey, that's dealing with the unknown as far as quarterbacking in the NFL. Get the ball out of your hands, 2nd and 10, play another down.
Rodney Hudson signed to a free agent deal this past offseason. He was a priority for the Raiders out of the Kansas City Chiefs organization. Started every game the last 2 years for the Chiefs. McGloin lofts it to the middle of the field. Intercepted! Reggie Nelson. And it'll be first down, Cincinnati. The intended receiver was Michael Rivera, and McGloin just overthrew him. So the Bengals up by 24, get another break. The Raiders still have not picked up a snap inside the Cincinnati end. Reggie Nelson made sure of it on this particular drive.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. Old Spice. Score a smell down in the smell zone for the Smelltional Championship. And by The Martian, October 2nd, only in theaters.
Second possession of the half for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Raiders defense forced a 3 and out the last time. Off the interception on first down, Dalton's pass to Green is good across the 40-yard line. All right, let's take a look at this interception by Reggie Nelson.
Yeah, well, certainly. You got a little vertical crossing route right here by Michael Rivera. The one thing I'll say here, quarterback, you got to look off the safety. Doesn't do that. And you see Reggie Nelson in the back end of the field here. He just reads the quarterback's eyes. Not a good decision by the quarterback, and not the proper throw as well. Just one more thing to add to the list of some of the problems with the Raiders offense right now.
You know, the Bengals were worried defensively about playing on the infield dirt of the Oakland Athletics. It was no problem there for Reggie Nelson, as Jeremy Hill was stopped by Malcolm Smith. No gain on that first down run. It'll be second down. There is Reggie Nelson, who has been a starter for Cincinnati for now in his 4th year as a starter, 6th year overall with the Cincinnati Bengals. Second on the team in tackles a year ago. Second down from the 42 for Dalton. He's been excellent today. 20 of 25 off the play fake. Williams is chasing him. Flags come flying. There's going to be a holding against the Bengals offensive line. And honestly, that's their first mistake, I think, Chris, all day long.
I think you're right. They have been hitting on all cylinders. Big Dan Williams got in the backfield.
Holding. Offense, number 61. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
Russell Bodine called for the holding. Never miss a moment of football action with the CBS Sports app. Every play, every story, and every highlight right as they happen. Download the CBS Sports app now. There is Bodine, second-year pro out of North Carolina.
Another one of these good Bengals offensive linemen. They are good up front. They can do whatever they want, and that's what makes them dangerous offensively. You talked about the weapons, but when you got an offensive line that can protect and smash mouth football as well, it's going to be hard for any defense to defend them.
Yeah, Bodine allowed only 2 sacks last year as the center for the Bengals. That pass is tipped at the line of scrimmage. Tuck, his second tip of the day. It'll be third down.
Yeah, and they're lucky this ball got tipped at the line of scrimmage, because Giovanni Bernard right here, he was open with space in the middle of the field. Another good job. It's Tuck's second batted ball of the day. Great job, veteran player. He's reading the quarterback, knows he's not going to get there, clog the passing lanes with those big paws.
Asked Hugh Jackson yesterday about the pass rush for the Raiders. Said, are you worried about Aldon Smith? He said, no. Are you worried about Mack? He said, well, we have a game plan for him. Are you worried about Tuck? He said, well, we have a game plan for him too, and we'll adjust on the fly. They haven't had to adjust as Smith gets to Dalton, who dumps it off to Giovanni Bernard. It'll be a loss on the play.
But you do see Aldon Smith here a little bit. Watch what he does. Kind of gets upfield, comes underneath. You'll see him pop in the right hand of your screen there. It was a screen play. But yes, I think as Aldon Smith continues to get in football shape, gets used to this defense, we haven't called Khalil Mack, his name a lot today. But Smith, Mack, both sides of the ball, I am very excited to see what they can do as this year goes on.
Yeah, and by the way, it is Khalil, not Khalil, as we were told the last couple of days from Khalil himself. Very pleasant kid. Here's TJ Carey, who slips as he gets close to the 30.
And I'm listening to him. Khalil, I'm listening to him.
I'm with him too. Matt McGloin gets another opportunity when we come back. Be there for the start of the biggest year yet. The Big Bang Theory premieres Monday, September 21st, right here on CBS. First down from the 29. Matt McGloin in for the injured Derek Carr. He was injured with 5:21 to play in the first half. Injured his hand. Questionable return. McGloin dumps it off to the middle. Marcel Reese is tripped up by Adam Jones. Gain of about 6 on the play. It'll be second down and 4. Well, O'Donnell Coliseum has been a big topic of conversation around the National Football League since last year. The Raiders are trying to get a new facility, but there's been a lot of talk about them moving to Carson City. And they have said that they have parallel offers and parallel decisions that they have to make as the handoff goes to Murray. They would love to stay, as Geno Atkins makes the tackle. They would love to stay here in Oakland, but there's been a lot of discussion about who they're speaking to here in Oakland. Mark Davis, the owner, to the right. John Madden, of course, was the head coach of the first Super Bowl championship for the Oakland Raiders. They want to stay here in Oakland, but they also have been open-minded that they have parallel offers and parallel places to look at.
Certainly, and listen, I want them to stay in Oakland. It's the Oakland Raiders. That's what I'm used to. But at the same time, the reality is this is an old stadium. This is about making money as an Oakland Raiders organization, about the NFL in general, and those are decisions that are just going to have to be made by Mark Davis and company.
Seth Roberts tackled after that reception. Leon Hill makes the call. Well, there's no question that there's a number of teams, and I say a number, there's several, that could possibly move to the Los Angeles area. The Raiders have already been there once.
Right.
They know that there's a fan base there, but as you said, they need to try to get some revenue generated, and the A's and the Raiders both share this facility, and it's kind of outdated from an NFL standpoint, and even from a Major League Baseball standpoint.
You're exactly right. I mean, there's just no easy way to sugarcoat it. This is not up to NFL standards. It's really just not up to professional sports standards in the year of 2015. Something needs to be done, and I certainly listen. If they can't get a new stadium here in Oakland, you can't blame the Raiders for leaving town.
Such a great fan base here in Oakland as well, as Tate calls for the fair catch. The Bengals will begin from the 15. It's been a great day for Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati offense.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's, teaming up with the NFL like never before. And by FanDuel, the leader in one-week fantasy football.
Well, back here in Oakland, California, the Bengals on top 24-0, 7:50 to play in the third quarter. A dominant first half. All the points for Cincinnati scored in the first half. Dalton to throw on first down. A.J. Green, he's going to get flagged for pushing off, even though he made the reception. The flag came in late. DJ Hayden in on the coverage.
Exactly right, Tom. I think you're right on it. Oh, wow. They're going to call this on DJ Hayden, I think.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I really thought A.J. Green pushed off.
I agree. And then, DJ only held, I think, because he got pushed.
Holding. Defense, number 25. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
Well, that's really interesting. And we have a great vantage point of the play. All right, yeah, maybe right there he held him.
Yeah, so they get him the holding before the push-off.
All right.
Yep. Hey, it's not easy covering A.J. Green out there on an island right now. And the Raiders are, of course, they're trying to stop the run because they're afraid the Bengals are just going to try to run the clock out. So you can see it right here. They got a lot of people in the box. There's Charles Woodson, safety, down there playing like a linebacker.
First down from the 20. Well, one of the storylines coming in, and he'll be a storyline all year long, is Khalil Mack. But let's give credit where credit's due. The Bengals offensive line has really held him in check. He wants to pressure the quarterback, and he hasn't been able to pressure Andy Dalton today.
I totally agree. And I think you talk about Khalil Mack. He is one of the budding superstars of this league. He was almost unblockable in the preseason. But like you said, Tom, you got to give Whitworth, Andre Smith, a lot of kudos just for hanging in there. They're big, talented guys, and it just shows this overall talent on this offense like we've been talking about.
Here's Green again in front of Hayden. He'll have the first down up to the 32.
But I absolutely love Khalil Mack. He is Hugh Jackson referred to him as a rolling ball of butcher knives this week, and that's really what he is. He is a force. You could see as he runs off the field here, he is nothing but arms, legs, and butt. He is made for power.
Well, what did Charles Woodson tell us the other day in our meetings? He said, well, he can't dance, we know that, but you have seen just 75% of what he will eventually be when he tightens up his moves. Dalton's going for it all, near side to Green, and Green can't hang on as he goes out of bounds. DJ Hayden's really been working hard against him in this half.
He really is, and DJ Hayden, that was very good coverage. I mean, he's one-on-one with A.J. Green. A.J. Green's one of the fastest receivers in football, let alone that he's really tall and long as well. But Hayden does a good job of squeezing A.J. Green to the sidelines. It gives Andy Dalton almost no room for error or no room to throw the ball.
I'll tell you what, that was a great shot right there. He was coming right at you. Second down and 10. Handoff is given to Jeremy Hill, and Hill is tripped up by Asante. Well, who says that being a camera operator on the sidelines is an easy job? And Hardy was trying to get the right shot.
Look at that roll, the little roll there.
I thought it was a great roll.
A better athlete might have got hit.
He would be really good on a slip and slide, wouldn't he?
He's still laying down there. Look at him. He just wants to lay down. He's acting like he wants a good shot, but he just wanted to take a little rest on Sunday afternoon.
Third down and 3. Bengals need to get to the 42. Giovanni Bernard checks into the ballgame. Also in is Rex Burkhead. He's in motion in the backfield. He's a fun guy to watch. You have to watch him as a receiver and also a runner. Dalton under pressure gets away, throws to Burkhead, and he's got it inside Raiders territory. TJ Carey in on the coverage. He carries over a fantastic preseason to the first game here against the Raiders.
Well, Burkhead's such a talented guy. He'd be one of the two guys in any team's rotation except Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard are on this team. But there was Khalil Mack getting after Andy Dalton. But Andy Dalton, great feel in the pocket and great throw on the run.
Asked Hugh Jackson about Burkhead and asked Marvin Lewis about him. Said, did you know that this is what you had? He said, we did after we put him in the receiver's position last year out of necessity. Here's Bernard dancing to the outside, breaks away from Carey, and then Woodson eventually takes him out of bounds inside the 10-yard line.
Well, this is just a physical beatdown right now, and you're not going to get to see the true Raiders picture here because really what's happening is the Raiders defense, like we talked about in the first half, they're just worn out. They've been on the field too much, too many 3-and-outs by the Oakland Raiders offense, and now they're just getting pushed around the field.
28-yard gain. It's first and goal from just inside the 10. I formation with Hewitt as the H-back. The handoff is given to Bernard, and he goes right up the middle.
Oh, it's disappointing because I think as a football fan, I was very optimistic about today. I think we got the feeling Friday being at the Raiders practice that they were feeling really good about their football team. But this is the Cincinnati Bengals, and this is the reason they were in the playoffs 3 years in a row, and maybe the best division in football as well. That's the other thing you got to take into account. And maybe this is the year they take the so-called next step.
10-5-1 last year, lost to the Colts in the first round of the postseason. Dalton's pass to the end zone, caught! Touchdown Cincinnati. Tyler Eifert with his second score of the day. He used his body to get around DJ Hayden.
Well, that's a tough assignment for DJ Hayden. He has to cover a big guy like Tyler Eifert. But again, I can't really say this is a great throw by Andy Dalton. Great job in recognizing that DJ Hayden's back's turned. That means there's nothing to scare Dalton. He knows that DJ Hayden can't see it, and that was a phenomenal catch by Eifert as well. He is proving to be quite the weapon.
Well, every scoring play is reviewed. They've reviewed that one. It caps off an 8-play, 85-yard drive. And Nugent's on for the point after. He's been perfect today, and the extra point is blocked. Justin Tuck blocks it. So it's no good. It's 30-0 Cincinnati. Well, Justin Tuck, the veteran, has 2 swats at the line of scrimmage and a block on that particular play. But Tyler Eifert has 2 touchdown receptions from Andy Dalton. It's the reason the Bengals are up 30-0. When they first experimented last preseason with moving the extra point back, it only went down 2% from makes to misses. Well, already today, 4 extra points have been missed. Last year, there were only 8 extra points missed the entire year.
Right, and I am not a big fan of this new rule. I'm really not. I just think we're putting too much into the kickers. I think the big thing, too, is you look at it and you go, oh, what if you have a 27-20 game? You don't want to talk about, okay, yeah, we make the game-winning or game-tying touchdown possibly, and now we're going to put in the kicker and making a 33-yard field goal to tie it. I don't like that.
All right, so this is the big storyline today. Derek Carr injured with 5:21 to play in the second quarter. Injured his hand on a stiff arm with Adam Jones, and he tried to come back, and they just took him into the locker room. We have not seen him since. I see him handling his hand right there, and his return is questionable, but he has not been back on the sidelines.
So that was a huge blow, and then they went for it on 4th down right after that, and it's really where the game kind of got out of hand. But gripping the football, of course, is paramount.
Yep. They dumped the ball off to Olawale, and he has the first down at the 31. By the way, if you're wondering about who the extra quarterback is for the Oakland Raiders, it is Michael Crabtree,
right,
who was a quarterback in high school. In fact, was rated higher as a quarterback coming out of high school than Christian Ponder was, who had a great career at Florida State.
Right, and was here throughout the preseason for the Oakland Raiders, so it was kind of funny when we read up on that. But, yeah, Crabtree's got a little experience there. I've seen him throw the ball around, too. He can spin it.
First down for the 31. The Raiders still have not had a snap inside Cincinnati territory today. And McGloin loses the ball, and it's recovered by the Bengals. Michael Johnson recovered it. Geno Atkins knocked it loose.
Well, the Raiders have done a good job of containing Geno Atkins to this point. Geno Atkins has been just about unblockable this preseason. But, man, that was everybody there. There was Dunlap was coming, Michael Johnson, Geno. It was a party at the quarterback. And McGloin just got it. Looks like he was trying to get the ball out of his hand. But there's one situation where you got to just know, hey, there's nothing to be gained. Keep your 2 hands on the ball and take the sack.
2:50 to play here in the third quarter. The miscues today, 4 drop passes, 5 penalties, and 2 turnovers. The 2 turnovers have happened in this half. Michael Johnson, who was away from the Bengals for a year, Carlos Dunlap told us, well, he never left our group chat. He was always there even when he was with Tampa Bay, so we were the first ones to know that he was coming back, and we were excited about it.
That's great. It really is, and they got something special going on here at Bengals right now, and you talk about the miscues, you know, even with the Raiders. Hey, it's new coaching staff. It's a lot of young players. Those are the things that happen, especially early on in the season. And quite honestly, like we've talked about, this Bengals team, it's a good football team. They're not going to go anywhere. They're going to be in the playoff discussion throughout the whole year into late December.
Well, it's first down from the 17 of Oakland. Andy Dalton, 24 of 31 today. He'll hand the ball off to Jeremy Hill. And Hill is stopped inside the 15. T.J. Carey in on the tackle. Jeremy Hill, 15 carries, now 54 yards. Andy Dalton. There wasn't a baton that was passed from Andrew Whitworth to Andy Dalton, but they have wanted him to be much more vocal about the offense, and he has taken that responsibility on. As Hill is wrapped up by Justin Tuck.
Yeah, and I think you know what you're saying about Andy Dalton. As a fan, as an ex-quarterback, that's something I would like to see him improve on. Hey, unleash the fury. Don't be. You look at some of the other top quarterbacks in football, whether it be Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. They're not afraid to yell at their offensive linemen, receivers, take that leadership role. I think Andy Dalton needs to let that emotion show. I think this team wants him to do that, and I really think they'll rally around him once he's comfortable and just letting it loose.
Facing a third down and 10. DJ Green in motion to the near side, and a timeout called by Dalton. Play clock was down to 2, so that's the second timeout used in this quarter by the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, they're up 30-0, so they have an opportunity to chat about it. Week 1 continues with Sunday Night Football on NBC and a Monday Night Football doubleheader on ESPN. Then Week 2 kicks off Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and CBS. Chiefs look good, and there's always questions about Peyton Manning, as strange as that sounds, about does he have a year left in the tank.
That's right, and Peyton Manning, definitely one of the 3 best quarterbacks of all time. We know that, but hey, Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
At some point, the skills do decline. And they're kind of in a tough matchup with the Baltimore Ravens right now as we talk.
Well, you just saw that note that popped up. That shows the dominance of Cincinnati's offense and defense today. In motion is Croft to the outside. Dalton looking to throw to the end zone. Incomplete. He overthrew Ryan Hewitt. It'll be 4th down, and Mike Nugent will come on for the field goal attempts.
Well, again, the seam route, which we saw really kill the Oakland Raiders throughout the first half. But it's just 4 verticals. Dalton's safe with the throw, but again, there was a chance there to get that done and get another touchdown pass. I think that's something the Raiders are definitely going to have to reevaluate in this week of preparation, because their next week opponent is going to be all over this. They got the Ravens next week. Trust me, Joe Flacco, he sees holes like that. He's going to throw lasers right in there.
Now this will be a 35-yard field goal attempt. And Nugent is spot on. And it's now 33-0 Cincinnati on top. All right, we talked about the Bengals' 3 questions. Chris, what are the 3 big questions surrounding the Oakland Raiders? I mean, today, Derek Carr's out. It remains to be seen what that injury is. You may have to amend your 3 questions when you talk about the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, well, listen, there's a lot of questions certainly going into week 2, but has Del Rio brought a new culture to Oakland? I really do think he has, just from what we saw in practice on Friday, in training camp. How long will it take Carr, Cooper, Murray to gel? Because that's a very nice trio. It really is, and I think they could do some special things. Hopefully Carr can get healthy. And then the big thing, too, for the defensive side of the ball was it's an unproven group at the cornerback position. TJ Carey, DJ Hayden, Nico Thorpe. These are all guys that are not necessarily household names to this point. They had some struggles today. And you see this Raiders defense right now. They're down. I'm sure they can't believe that they've been beaten down to this degree. But I'll say this to the Raiders bunch right there. Stay up. It's not all on this Raiders defense. The Raiders offense has put them in some horrible positions throughout the game.
Well, there was optimism, and as we said, there always is in week number 1. But Jack Del Rio's done some really good things. I mean, the coaching staff with the facility. Nugent's kickoff, a line drive kick. And Taiwan Jones will return this one. Has some daylight, and he is nailed inside the 30-yard line. Chris Carter, credit him with the tackle.
Man, yeah. I'm glad I don't play special teams. I'll just tell you that much, because it is. When I was playing, I used to look at these guys come off the field, and I'd just be like, I would have broke my back, my neck, and both my shoulders with hits like that. It is a skill in itself to be able to throw your body around.
Mac Brown never put you in special teams?
No, definitely not.
John Gruden never put you in special teams?
Just when I threw interceptions, then I had to make tackles, and that wasn't my favorite.
Taiwan Jones is in the ball game. 1:20 to play. You see the time of possession. And the average yards per play. The handoff goes to Jones. Up to the 32. Chris Carter makes the tackle. Now the Bengals defense, they've never shut out an opponent in a week 1 game in franchise history. Well, there's always a first, right?
They got a chance. The problem is the other team's got Sebastian Janikowski. They could probably hit a 60-yarder at some point between now and the end of the 4th quarter.
Well, he was booming them earlier today during pregame workouts. 2nd down, McLaurin to throw. Dumps it to the middle. Crabtree has it. And Crabtree has a first down at the 40. Leon Hall in on the tackle. Lemur was there as well. So a gain of 8. McLaurin again out of the shotgun, dumps it off to Crabtree, and Crabtree dances away from one tackler, and for the first time today, the Raiders are inside Cincinnati territory. Vinny Ray makes the tackle. Well, that'll be the final play. At least it looks like it'll be the final play. Now they blow the clock dead for a moment.
But that's about all they're going to get right now.
Yeah.
The Bengals are in safe defense mode. They're going to try to keep these Raiders receivers in front of them and just rally to tackle.
Well, that will be the final play of the third quarter with the score Cincinnati 33 and Oakland nothing. We'll return to Oakland after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. Well, the score by quarters, you see the dominance of the Cincinnati Bengals. This will be the first snap of the day for the Oakland Raiders inside Cincinnati territory.
Pretty
right
hard to
second
believe.
Base, yeah. Right at second base here at O.Co. Coliseum. McGloin in for the injured Derek Carr, dumps it off. It's complete to Clive Walford. Now, you like this kid, Clive Walford.
I do like this kid, Clive Walford. Third-round pick out of the University of Miami. He's a big target. Now, he's been not healthy throughout preseason. This is really some of the first live action he's gotten to see, but he's a big target, and he can really run. I think the combination of him and Michael Rivera at the tight end position is really intriguing as the year goes on.
Well, Amari Cooper cut inside. The pass went outside. It'll be second down. Or third down, I should say. Third down and 9.
You know, you were talking about second base. I never liked playing on these baseball fields. You know, when I was playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we'd have to go down and play the Miami Dolphins in preseason. There is something to be said. Yeah, baseball players get to wear metal spikes. In the NFL, they're plastic cleats. They don't always dig into the dirt. As you can see here, they're not really dug in, so footing can be an issue.
Yeah, and even the snap from the centers, whether it be a long snap or just a regular snap out of the shotgun, that gets a little dicey. The Bengals were here yesterday for walkthrough just to get used to it. Pass is incomplete, intended for Seth Roberts, who's got a couple of drops today. He had to turn back to try to make that reception. It'll be fourth down, and the Raiders will have to punt.
Yeah, well, little pressure here by the Bengals. McGloin sits in there. Not the greatest throw, but you'd like to see Seth Roberts come down with that. And then, of course, Sean Williams does a good job in making it competitive, and I'm sure that's part of the reason Seth Roberts dropped the ball, too. He knew somebody was coming to knock his head off.
That'll make you a little jumpy, wouldn't it?
At time to time.
Sixth punt of the day for King. And he gets that one off. It's going to go over the head of Tate into the end zone. Cincinnati will have it. 14:22 to play here in the fourth quarter. A dominant opener for Andy Dalton and the Bengals.
All right, we're back. Bengals up 33-0, but man, big day for the Bengals offense. Jeremy Hill looked good early, and Andy Dalton has been absolutely phenomenal throughout the game. Great throw you see there to Tyler Eifert, but been on point. Passing game been hitting on all cylinders. You got to be excited if you're a Bengals player, Bengals fan. They really got it going on. Marvin Lewis, he was excited to see what his team would bring to the field week 1, and they're looking good right now.
You see the numbers from last year when they scored 22 points or more. They have 9 victories, and of course that tie. They'll take over. Jeremy Hill is the lone back in the backfield behind Andy Dalton. He'll take the handoff here. You know, they've run just enough here today. For Jeremy Hill, he has 55 yards on the ground, but they've run just enough with he and Giovanni Bernard.
They have, and they set up the game early on with running the football, but then that, of course, makes the Raiders go, okay, we got to be conscious of the run, and then what do? They strike in the passing game down the seams, so they got it all. We know that.
All right, so they're up 33-0.
Right.
If they're thinking ahead, are they saying, all right, we have to try to run the ball here, not only to kill the clock, but we have to try to get Jeremy Hill more reps?
I think the big thing is not only reps for Jeremy Hill, but you got to remember a lot of these guys haven't played a full game the whole year. So It's about getting your team in shape for the long haul of the football season, especially the offensive linemen. They haven't had to slug it out for 4 quarters yet. I think that's why you keep them in there and let them keep going.
I think what they have to work on are the usage of timeouts as they move forward. They've used all 3 so far in this second half with 13:36 to play in the fourth quarter. So Hugh Jackson will chat with Andy Dalton as we go to a timeout with the Bengals on top.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Black Mass from Warner Brothers Pictures. In theaters everywhere September 18th. Verizon. Watch live primetime games with NFL Mobile only on Verizon. And by Michelob Ultra, the superior light beer.
Well, I'm with you, buddy. That would be hard to do on a hot day like this, but it would be a lot of fun to do it. It's second down and 8 for the Bengals. The ball spot at the 22-yard line along with Chris Sims on Tom McCarthy from Oakland, California. Another swat. I think it was Dan Williams this time that may have gotten his hand on that.
Big Dan Williams, free agent acquisition from the Arizona Cardinals. One of the best defensive tackles in football as far as stopping the run, is, in my opinion. He is a load in the middle. He takes on double teams. He's got great athleticism for somebody that's 330 pounds. One of the reasons I'm excited to see what the Raiders defense can do this year.
Bengals with 56 plays in this ball game. Of those 56, 21 have gone for first downs.
Wow.
Yeah, 3rd down and 8 here. Bernard is in the ball game next to Dalton out of the shotgun. Andy Dalton dumps it to the right side for Bernard. Can he get the first down? Nope, he is stopped shy of it at the 27-yard line. Malcolm Smith, Ray Armstrong, TJ Carey, they're all there. TJ Carey has been all over the field today. Now, he's had to be all over the field, but he's been pretty active today for the Raiders.
He has. He's a guy, when you watch them on film, he's impressive. He really is. He's going back to return punts now, but like we said, he really fits the mold of what they want on the defensive side of the football. The Seattle Seahawks have made the en vogue thing in football right now with Richard Sherman have those corners with size, and TJ Carey has size, and that's what they like about it. They want to play this 3-deep press bail defense. Carey's 6 foot, 205 pounds, and athletic as well.
Well, he'll try to return this one from the 30. Clark Harris slowed him at the 37, and he's eventually down at the 40-yard line. Well, for Marvin Lewis, he says he has a short memory when things don't go right. He'll long remember this ball game today. Justin Tuck has been saying over the last couple of weeks about the expectations for the Raiders. He said, we have to prove it. As simple as that. Well, today is not going to be the day that they want to use as the game to prove it. 33-0, Cincinnati's on top. The Raiders with the ball from the 41-yard line. McGloin's pass is complete to the outside. Well, for Marvin Lewis, as we mentioned, the second longest tenured coach, active coach in the National Football League, behind Bill Belichick. Tom Coughlin, 12 years with the Giants. Mike McCarthy, 10. You and I were amazed that it's been 9 years of Mike Tomlin and a Super Bowl championship. They all have Super Bowls except for Marvin Lewis, and he's well aware of that.
Yeah, he is aware of it, and he's a guy that you can't help but root for a Marvin Lewis. When you meet him, you talk to him on a consistent basis, you talk to the players that play for him, they all love him. Listen, he's going to get there at some point. They're going to win some playoff games. They got to be happy to have Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati. He has made the Bengals relevant for a very long time here, and I think that's the one thing people got to remember. He's built something here that can stand the test of time with the talent level. He's put in that so-called word of culture. It is a winning culture here with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think like him, like Andy Dalton, they're sick of hearing about no playoff wins either.
Yeah, Seth Roberts took a licking right there, and the Raiders.
And that's Darquez Dennard, who's another first-round corner on this Cincinnati Bengals team from Michigan State 2 years ago.
Yeah, they have 4 first-round corners on the defense for the Bengals. They're going to go for it on 4th down and 1. Why wouldn't you? And the pass is complete to Crabtree. He has the first down of the 46. 11:45 left to play here in the 4th quarter. Again, Matt McGloin has been in since the 5-minute mark, 5:21 of the 2nd quarter. Derek Carr went out with a hand injury, tried to stiff arm Adam Jones. First down, another dump off. This one is complete to the middle. Don't miss the man who has everyone talking. It's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Tomorrow, Stephen's got Emily Blunt, and Tuesday, Jake Gyllenhaal. Only CBS.
I caught the show this week a few times.
I love the set.
It's a great set. He made me laugh a few times. I work not far from there in New York City, so I can see the name in bright lights just about every day.
I thought the one-on-one with Joe Biden, with Vice President Joe Biden, was kind of cool. 2nd down and 5 from the 41. Pass is complete to Cooper, but he is stopped by Leon Hall. Couple of yards shy. Well, again, Stephen Colbert, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, new tomorrow. Emily Blunt will be on tomorrow. Jake Gyllenhaal, who really got his body in amazing shape.
Yes, he did. The Fighter, is that the movie he was in?
It was, it was incredible what he was able to do. Southpaw.
Southpaw, that's what it was. Sorry. I'm a southpaw. I should have remembered that.
Yes, you should have. And you're a movie buff.
I am a movie buff, but I did not see that, oddly enough. So it's on the bucket list.
Third down at 7. And the pass is complete to the 39-yard line of Michael Rivera. That's his first reception of the day.
Yeah, he's a guy I thought we would have called his name by now. Very talented pass-catching tight end. Certainly need them in the NFL this day and age. We've seen it from Tyler Eifert, Rob Gronkowski. These guys are tough to match up with now, not only because of their size, but guys like Michael Rivera, they're as quick as some of these receivers. They can run phenomenal routes. They're dangerous with the ball after the catch. He'll do some good things as the year goes on.
Second time that they'll go for it on fourth down, this time 4th and 3. And McGloin has time. He'll throw it to the middle. Pass is complete to the middle. Amari Cooper got open. Darquez Denard in on the tackle, 14-yard gain.
Yeah, he's going to run just a little deep in cut here. You can see, look at the precision of the route running. And I even love the love of the gearing down there. He knew, okay, I'm open. Let me slow down, make myself available to the quarterback so Matt McGloin could see him. This kid's special. He really is.
Well, they talked about his route running. A lot of receivers come in, and there's so much free will going on in college football that not all the receivers can run routes perfectly, and they say that he can do that. Murray inside the 20-yard line. So they'll spot it right at the 19. They'll be 4 yards shy of a first down.
And if I'm the Oakland Raiders here, I might take Latavius Murray out of the football game too. Just because they're not deep at the running back position. He is their bell cow. He's their stud back there. I'm not so sure we need to see him get pounded here the last 8 minutes of this football game.
Well, it's Reese that's in now. Streeter with the reception for the first down.
Rod Streeter, another guy I'm excited about for this Oakland Raiders football team. 6'2", 195 pounds, good route runner.
Undrafted free agent out of Temple. Happy about the Week 1 victory over Penn State. Here is Marcel Reese into the end zone. Touchdown, Oakland Raiders. They're on the board.
That's why it's so hard to get Week 1 shutouts. But nonetheless, Marcel Reese, I really like his game too. You talk about a hybrid player. He can play running back, tight end, fullback, can do it all. Nice little, what we would call an angle route in the NFL. And then he's a big boy. You don't want to necessarily square up with him all the time. He's 250 pounds.
11-yard touchdown reception. And here is Sebastian Janikowski. We have not talked about the man they call Seabass all day long. The point after is good. It's 33-7 with 7:55 to play here in the fourth quarter. Well, this is what they hoped would be the pattern for the Raiders. They finally get a score here in the fourth quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by a Subway footlong. There's nothing bigger, nothing better. Subway, eat fresh. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
Well, Raider Nation thought they would have a lot to cheer about today and moving forward, and they will have a lot to cheer about moving forward, but it just hasn't been their day today. Down 33-7 with 7:55 to play here in the fourth quarter. Janikowski's kickoff goes away from Brandon Tate, who will field it at the 3-yard line and go out of bounds. Your weekend starts here with Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network as Peyton and the Broncos go off with Alex Smith and the Chiefs right here on your home to Super Bowl 50, CBS Sports.
Big Phil and Jim, that's what we call my dad in our house.
Call Big Phil?
Yeah, he's either Big Phil,
Does he call you Little Chris?
Maybe the King. No.
The King.
That's what we call him. But you know, and then Nance is just the boss. He's the man. We know that. But yeah, Big Phil. I know he'll be excited about that Kansas City Broncos matchup on Thursday night.
Yeah, Big Phil's schedule is pretty filled up for this fall.
Yep, they're making him earn his cash.
7:53 to play here in the fourth quarter. Andy Dalton's still in the game as they hand the ball off to Jeremy Hill. We thought maybe we would see A.J. McCarron
Yeah, if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I wouldn't risk it at this point. I would get Andy Dalton out of there. I would get A.J. Green and Jeremy Hill out of the game. I would start right there with those three, and then maybe even a Tyler Eifert, too, who's had some injury issues. But you are clearly in control of the game. I don't think there's any reason to risk it. They have taken Whitworth out at left tackle. That is a good thing. But this is, listen, they play in the AFC North. You want to talk about brutal physical football?
Yeah, great conference. A great division, I should say. Handoff goes again to Hill, running right. Justin Tuck takes him down about a yard or two shy of a first down. Hill is 19 carries now, 63 yards. There is Andrew Whitworth. He talked about him being out of the game at this point.
Yep, and you know, again, the Bengals left tackle in there right now. Jake Fisher from Oregon, second-round pick. They drafted a first-round tackle, Cedric Obue, out of Texas A&M in the first round this year. So they're drafted for the future. They're doing the right things in the Cincinnati Bengals organization.
Andy Dalton with a quarterback keeper on third down. I don't know if he was able to get to the first down marker. There was a surge on the right side of that offensive line. Kevin Zeitler, the right guard, and Andre Smith, the right tackle.
And you know, again, here we are. Andy Dalton taking unnecessary hits, and I'm not trying to second guess, but yes, he has been hurt earlier in the preseason on a quarterback sneak where he hurt his neck a little bit on a quarterback sneak.
Yeah, he was going over with us at our meetings the other day. He was trying to explain it, and he was getting his body contorted.
Right.
Where he was kind of on the ground, and he said, you know, you just kind of pinch your neck to your shoulder.
Right.
That's what happened.
Right. Yeah. It's a nice little kind pinch with 900 pounds on your shoulder and neck. Somebody smushing you in the ground. I did not like quarterback sneaks when I was in the NFL.
You should have just gone right over the top. On fourth down, an extra man, A.J. Hawk comes running in. That's going to be a delay game.
Well, they got no more timeouts.
No more timeouts. Hey, by the way, Brad Allen and his crew today, they've done a really good job, the referee and his crew this afternoon. I mean, there haven't been really any dramatic calls, but they've really done a nice job, an efficient job with today's ball game.
Been on top of everything, didn't over officiate the game. I thought, we had a few little melees and skirmishes break out. They handled those correctly. First game of the year, err on being safe. Don't kick anybody out of the game. Emotions are high in week one.
TJ Carey comes up to the 44-yard line. Well, some early NFL news and notes from today. St. Louis defeated Seattle in overtime.
Right. Well, Seattle, they got some studs on defense as well. I mean, shocker, Aaron Rodgers threw for 3 touchdown passes. Mm-hmm. That's why he's the best player in football. And Luke Kuechly, one of the best middle linebackers in the game, suffers a concussion. That's got to be a little concerning. He's the leader of that defense, just got a new contract. But definitely not short of storylines.
Yeah, Kansas City had a big day today over the Texans. Looks like we have an illegal substitution.
Too many players on the defense. 12 players in formation.
All right.
5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, this is the point where they are putting in some extra players. So Duron Smith was not supposed to be out there, it looks like. So he now checks out.
And the Bengals definitely don't need another player on their defense to slow down this offense right now. So let's keep them with 11 on the field.
Yeah, think about this defensive line. Dunlap, Pecco, Atkins, Johnson, throw Gilberry in there, Pat Sims.
Right.
I mean, they are going to be a force as this year moves on. Olawale with a reception, a yard shy initially of the first down, but the extra effort. Give him some credit.
But you're right about that defensive line. The thing I like about them is the versatility. If they have to play if they want to play a speed game and match up with a team that they feel like is predicated on speed offensively, they can do that. If they want to get big and they're afraid of a team that might be able to run on them, they got those guys as well. They've really got everything up front as far as the Bengals defense is concerned.
And they're without Burfict, who's out, still recovering from the microfracture surgery in the linebacking core. The handoff is given Olawale, and he does have the first down close to the 41-yard line. Denard comes up to make the tackle for Cincinnati as we wind close to the 4-minute mark here in the fourth quarter. Bill Musgrave still trying to get the offense in some kind of rhythm going into next week's game.
Right. And you can see the struggles they've had. And the big thing, too, is this offensive line, they need reps. We talked about it early in the game. They did not exactly open up holes throughout the preseason for Latavius Murray. I'm glad Latavius Murray is out of the game right now. There's no need to put him in there right now. But the offensive line needs to get in game shape, and they need to improve their play.
Olawale's in the backfield. McGloin to throw. Pass is complete to Crabtree. Adam Jones rips him to the ground at the 36-yard line. Gain of 4. Again, no additional update on Derek Carr. He left in the second quarter with a hand injury. His return was questionable, but when we rolled into the second half and then even at the end of the third quarter, he wasn't out on the sidelines. We knew he wasn't going to be back. Incomplete pass to Rod Streeter.
I just really hope nothing's broken. That's all you can wish for if you're a Raiders fan, Derek Carr fan, which I am. Broken hand would certainly keep him out for a significant amount of time. Hopefully it's a bone bruise, something like that, to where maybe he misses another week. Who knows? It's hard to tell with your throwing hand. You know, your throwing hand, it not only can hurt when you try to grip the football, but it also can really hurt when you release the football. Yes, center snaps as well. You're exactly right about that, Tom. So it is something to be concerned about.
Here's Taiwan Jones. Quick pass. Breaks free. Inside the 25, down to the 24-yard line. Leon Hall makes the tackle.
Nice little play design. These are key reps for the Oakland Raiders and their offense. We've talked about it. Amari Cooper's young. Crabtree's new to the offense. Yeah, and McGloin might be playing here the next few weeks, so he needs these reps as well to get game ready.
Well, that's his 22nd completion as he finds Olawale underneath. Maualuga in on the tackle. They've been all short passes. You know, he's got 22 completions, 29 attempts.
Right.
For just over 130 yards in place of Derek Carr.
Yeah, and it's not like he's missing anything down the field. The Bengals are in prevent mode. They've got a huge lead here in the second half, so there's been no reason for them to be aggressive or take chances.
2:20 to play. He'll loft to the end zone for Crabtree, and he just extends it past his fingertips.
Oof, and just as I said that, they blitzed everybody.
And a flag comes in late. I don't know if they're going to get Dre Kirkpatrick for something or if it's Crabtree.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting, number 27, defense. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
That's their second one of the day. Iloka, who's been out of the game since the first half, had one earlier for the Bengals.
Well, he says something, stands over him. That's the way it is in the NFL. They're going to stop all that from happening.
McGloin got hit by Johnson as he let this one go. Tough kid from Pennsylvania. Worked his way into the starting role at Penn State. First down and goal from just inside the 10. Pass is complete and a touchdown Oakland Raiders. Marcel Reese. Great hands on that reception. It's his second touchdown of the day.
Well, you see the versatility of Marcel Reese. Smooth athlete. We talked about how big he is, 250 pounds, but he's a good route runner. Look at that. I mean, a little in and out move on the linebacker. Great hands. He's a guy that anybody would welcome in their offense because of all the different things he can do.
So a 9-yard touchdown reception. And they're going to go for 2 here instead of bringing Sebastian Janikowski out for the point after. 2-point conversion again. You know, they moved back the extra point, but the 2-point conversion stays exactly where it was. Stays on the 2-yard line. McGloin out of the shotgun, slings it to the near side for Streeter, incomplete. Broken up by Kirkpatrick. And it remains 33-13. Next Sunday, the NFL on CBS breaks out regional action when the Texans tackle the Panthers, the Chargers challenge these Bengals, or the Ravens rumble with the Raiders. Check local listings beginning with the team that'll take you to Super Bowl 50. JB, Tony, Bart, Coach, and Boomer on NFL Today. some of the shots you see of their promos out here in San Francisco. They spent some time out here because Super Bowl 50 will be in Santa Clara, the home of the Niners.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Of course, it's on CBS, but man, if you haven't been down or seen that stadium in Santa Clara where the 49ers play, it is truly incredible.
50th Super Bowl, rightfully on CBS.
Going to see a lot of gold this year.
A lot of gold.
A lot of gold. I thought maybe they'd make the Super Bowl trophy gold, but I guess they don't want to do that.
Well, there's certain things that you can work around tradition. Then there's certain things you can't.
Exactly right.
Janikowski will kick it off. Tate back deep to receive. 2:13 to play here in the fourth quarter. A great opening game for the Bengals. Tate will take it at the 10. He is stopped at the 18-yard line, maybe the 17, depending on the spot. Keenan Lambert just over from the Seahawks. Helps out and makes the tackle. Naran Ball was there as well, and Andy Dalton is going to stay in this ball game. Looks it's conservative.
Yeah, and that's right. I would think if you're going to call any plays here as the Bengals offensive coordinator Hugh Jackson, it's going to run the ball 3 times. If they throw it, it'll be something extremely quick. And obviously they trust Andy Dalton in the situation to protect himself and his body. It is his 5th year. He knows how to play the game.
Giovanni Bernard is the deep man. In motion is Tyler Croft. Handoff goes to Bernard. And he gets up to the 28-yard line. So we'll go down to the 2-minute warning here in Oakland. 33-13.
This is the 2-minute warning.
Number 1 convincingly in the back pocket of the Cincinnati Bengals. Hello, Chris Sims. I'm Tom McCarthy. 33-13. Bengals on top. Cincinnati with the ball. It'll be 2nd down and 4. Jeremy Hill has had himself a good day. Hill 19 for 63, much to the chagrin of Raider Nation. High formation for Cincinnati. Mohamed Sanu in motion. And Giovanni Bernard has the first down, spinning up to the 30. All right, let's look back to your keys to the game. Let's see what worked and what didn't work.
Well, I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals, everything worked. Yep. I think that's pretty obvious there to the left. They did it all. For the Raiders, the only thing that's positive, at least from my standpoint, Geno Atkins did not ruin the game. He was not too much of a factor. But, you know, the big thing is there was way too many wide-open receivers for the Bengals running down the field. And I thought early on the Raiders just weren't patient enough with the run game, not only to help the pass game, but just in resting the defense a little bit. So those are things they'll go back to the drawing board. Bill Musgrave, Jack Del Rio, they're great football minds. They'll get this ship steered in the right direction.
By the way, speaking of running the ball, Bernard and Jeremy Hill have combined now for 27 carries, and both have 63 yards apiece.
You know, like I said earlier in the broadcast, they're up there for the most impressive duo in football. Oh, man, and that's Charles Woodson.
Charles Woodson, yeah. Charles Woodson, who told us the other day in his meetings that his body feels good. He took a page out of Jerry Rice's book. When Rice talked to him about keeping himself in shape, he said after 10 years, Jerry Rice told him, lose a pound a year just to take the pressure off your joints. And right there, looks like he runs right into his teammate, Malcolm Smith.
Yep. All right, well, yeah, and they just got caught in a lot of trash there. So it didn't look too bad. It's good that he's up. They've already lost one safety today, and Nate Allen, and that did look bad. We don't know what happened there, but it was a knee injury. This is a wrist injury. It looks like they're holding his arm.
Yeah, he is wobbly as he comes up.
So I really hope, hey, this is a first ballot Hall of Famer we're looking at right here, and truly one of the great secondary players of this generation. I mean, not a lot of guys that can win the Heisman, play receiver and corner, be a shutdown corner, then move to safety later in your career. Ultimate competitor.
Well, Woodson is walked off. It is 2nd down and 7. If we do get an update, and we'll be hard pressed with 1:04 left, we'll let you know. And it looks like the Bengals are just going to take a knee. on 2nd down and 7. Victory formation for Cincinnati. They have come into Oakland and they have accomplished an awful lot, not only defensively but also offensively. Andy Dalton 25 of 34 for 269 yards. It's the first win in Oakland in franchise history, and that counts a playoff loss as well. A lot of good things for Marvin Lewis. He just shook the hands of Hugh Jackson. He said next week he'll get a chance to really catch up with Jack Del Rio. They're very good friends.
Right. They hadn't talked since they saw it on the schedule.
They got together a little bit today before the game. I watched that, and there was a nice embrace before the game began. But Marvin said that he has a lot of respect for Jack Del Rio and was excited when he was given the opportunity to come back and be a head football coach because he felt like he should have been here in the National Football League. So two old friends greeting each other at midfield. The Cincinnati Bengals will watch the last 14 seconds tick off the clock. Hugh Jackson's return to Oakland turned out to be a positive one as the Bengals win it by a final score of 33-13. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes, followed by a new Big Brother, Madam Secretary and CSI Cyber. So now for Chris Sims, this is Tom McCarthy saying so long from Oakland. We want to thank our crew. They were outstanding here this afternoon. Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals pick up a victory in week number 1. You've been watching the NFL on CBS. A good first week for Cincinnati, the home of Super Bowl 50.